Okay. Alright, here we go. Whoops. Hello, everyone. Hello. Things are a little bit different tonight, as you might be able to tell. Um, Tonight I am, oops, there we go. I am doing, I'm gonna be doing some artwork and role building in parallel. This is hopefully the first of, like, a series. I really want it to be. It depends on Cradler.
We'll see. Have fun.
I think it'll be very fun. Because we each like art, and we each like tabletop role playing games, and we each have like settings and things that we do. And so the idea here is that we'll be taking turns and swapping off bi-weekly, working on one of the settings or the other ones, and doing some artwork for them. So Brandon, thank you so much for it. Much love as well. Yeah, I don't have a fancy thing yet, a fancy announcement as to what we're working on yet, so I guess just like say, yeah. So we need one.
Wing it. It's
It's
fine.
fine. Okay. I actually just realized something awful, which is that I gotta try and turn you up, and I don't.
I'm very quiet.
How to do this properly.
I do apologize if I'm a little quiet. It's my ancient stand microphone.
Yeah, I have no idea how to turn you up. Okay, we'll do it the manual way, the way you absolutely should not do this. Okay. Let me make sure that you're coming in properly. I can't turn you up that way. Okay. Say something, Cradler?
Hi.
Yep, you're definitely coming in. And I'm definitely coming through. You're coming through well on their end, just not on my end, but maybe that's...
Does it help if I get a little closer?
Okay, here we are. Very good. I can turn you up now. Excellent.
Yay!
Okay, there you go. I figured out how to do it. Okay. And so
a little bit.
Yeah. So the idea tonight is that we're gonna be doing classes, a class or the rough equivalent from Cradler's World, because yours is gently system agnostic, right?
Probably.
Yeah. But I guess it's kind of D&D sort of thing, and
it's like I didn't really I had the setting before I started tabletop, and people just kind of were like, "You should do this as a tabletop thing," and I was like, "Okay, I know nothing about how to do that. I'll try."
Okay, I mean that works, right?
So the setting's from all the way back in 2009. So I apologize if anything is cringe.
Life is cringe, but we are here for it.
Life is cringe.
And the prompt for tonight was the idea of a ninja, which I don't think you were ready for.
Sneaky boys.
So what's a ninja like in your world? Because of their oh, that's nifty. Oh, okay. Because of their aesthetic and association. Crap. There is this.
What I recall, ninjas are a Chinese thing.
Japanese.
Are they Japanese? Why is that Chinese?
Yeah.
Why do I think they're Chinese?
There's probably stories of stealth operatives from everywhere, right?
I Probably. I'm trying to think of like why I had it in my head that they're Chinese instead of Japanese.
I mean, it's your world. We can like we can do like whatever, right?
Oh yeah, we can do whatever. It was the real world ninjas, but I mean, I do have a like more Oriental themed nation space that I haven't mapped out whatsoever. I have one character that's from there currently in my like 50 plus cast.
And there's
I'm trying to think of like, would they have the same aesthetic?
Right now, like, because the thing is, what a ninja is basically it is a guerrilla stealth operative that is usually part of like the lower classes that was taken and trained for what they do.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm gonna. Are you doing a boy?
I guess.
I don't even know yet.
I just started doing a thing.
Actually, I like the idea. This idea.
I'm just doing a pose.
Yeah. So it's like they had spies and all kinds of stuff in medieval Europe, throughout Africa. Like I'm sure they had spies everywhere. Like, it's the idea of it, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I've got those characters in like the main like locale that did get like some rough fleshing out.
Yeah. I can't figure this out.
Because that Metropolis does have an Assassin's Guild.
Okay, so you're seeing like more like an assassin-y kind of ninja. Like, I guess more like the concept of them as they're usually portrayed.
Yeah.
Something about that motion is speaking to me. Let me see, like...
Remember, I think a lot of the lower class in the Metropolis, if I'm going to focus on the one that has a little bit more fleshing out so my brain doesn't completely sputter.
No, that's absolutely okay.
Oh god, I can't remember. There was some god that they worshipped that's like covered in bandages, so I feel like a lot of them would have a lot of bandages.
Okay, so it's like a religious thing to be wrapped up, almost like these... You should call them shrouds.
Sure, let's call them shrouds.
Like, just because, like, the idea, because, like, people talk about, like, the mummy shroud, and, like, shrouds, like, a religious thing, are very much, like, a big deal in, like, varying religions, that kind of thing. Like, I like it just feels like it works well. So they're members of this Assassin's Guild. Also, feel free to, like, reject anything I say.
No, you're fine. Like, I'm really loosey-goosey, so you'll probably say something and be like, yes, that works.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I think that, like, particular figure of worship, aside from the bandages, I guess the meme version would be like he's the god of struggle wife. Just
he's the god of that Sigma grind set.
Yeah, just if you've had a life that's hard and there's a lot of injuries and illnesses because of that, and you know the struggles or suffering that goes with all of that, and but also kind of the, I guess, a little bit of like the caring and hope that comes with the community that ends up forming from that.
They sound like they're a god of, among other things, like the poor or the downtrodden.
Yeah.
In addition to being this god of suffering.
Yeah.
They're like a god of not having hope, but in like a positive way.
Yeah, kinda.
can dig that. I can actually dig it. I'm taking, like, no room on this page to, like do
Take, take room. Are you drawing? I haven't peeked, but are you drawing this big?
like,
this is how big you're drawing on your screen that I can't see right now.
Look at it this way. I have, like, the legs and the hips, and they could fit inside, like, your dude's, like, arm and head. I'm gonna, like, blow it up is what I'm gonna have to do, because I always do this. I don't know why.
I'm highly amused.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I would imagine there's probably a couple more, like, I guess, middle class guys in here, but probably not through.
They weren't like traditional, the people who did this, right?
Yeah.
I actually kind of want them, like, do I want them, like, arched? Or no, I think I want them more, like, forwards. Yeah, I'm gonna... I gotta resize things in here. Is it operation?
So, there's... This is under edit, I think. Yeah,
there's
edit,
scale
transform,
rotate.
Scale rotate.
It's at the top. It's at the top.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's actually another thing somewhere on the side panel, maybe. I don't use it side panel for finding it much, but I think there is a side panel.
It's up at the top. I can see it's next to the fill bucket on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will see how this. Yeah, I'm curious. They don't sound like as mystical, I guess, as, like, ninjas frequently are portrayed.
Well, this is just one setting, so the assassins in some of the other areas might be a little bit more mystical.
Yeah. But
I just haven't
Go ahead.
gone to those areas yet.
They sound very much like ascetics, almost.
Although they do... I would imagine they'd be very adept at, like, shadow stepping.
Okay. Do you have any idea, like, what kind of weapons they might use or anything? I'm kind of seeing them also with, like, shivs or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say shorter blades that aren't going to cause an issue in tight spaces, because the Assassin's Guild also has a lot of just generic thief members, kind of overlaps.
Right, makes sense.
And a large weapon is not necessarily going to be conducive to an assassination, even if you're in a large space.
Yeah, so they probably use little stabby backwards things.
Stabby backwards things. I know poisoned weapons is really common.
Okay.
If they're able to make the right friends, or they dip into some of the magic practices, I'm sure a couple of enchanted blades are a thing.
Nice. See,
other small spells.
Fun fact, I had a hyperfixation on ninjas once, and I feel about the historical accuracy of what a ninja is. I mean, that makes sense, Brandon. That was Brandon, not me. Um, I don't know that I have your depth of knowledge, but like, I appreciate that ninjas were not anything like they're portrayed. So they might be like adepts, I guess, that have like a little magic or something.
Yeah, so the main locale that we focused on was the metropolis of Rookwall.
So Metropolis of what?
Rookwall.
Brickwall.
Yeah.
I like it. It sounds a little bit like a brick wall or like Brickland or like it sounds like a lot of name. It sounds like a kind of name that should be a name somewhere.
It's called Rookwall, so for the fact that it is a metropolis surrounded by a wall and there's a big fuck off tower in the middle of it.
Okay.
Very basic naming, but when I got like hyper flaily about basic naming, I remembered that there's a river somewhere called River.
Right? Honestly, like so many names that we just take like assume like for granted are like names just named after really like okay, like we have a city that is New York, New York.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like there's a lot of room here for like
Like I felt bad because I felt like it should be like this really cool whatever, and I was like, no, nobody would bother. They're not gonna give it a super fancy complex name. They're gonna be like, yeah, it's a town, it's got a wall and a tower, it's called Rookwall.
rip naming.
Right. Especially because it's probably named by the settler guys that moved in, not necessarily the natives.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, the proficiency with like small weapons. Do you mention these guys like actually like have like a lot of weapons, or is it just like no, we just have a couple weapons and that's what we do?
The thief guys probably only have a couple weapons. The more dedicated assassins probably actually have quite a few.
Okay.
I would imagine that they would be that meme of we have spread our arms from our sides and there's a rain of kunai or whatever throwing knives. They'd probably only do that in a pinch, but that would be pretty showy.
It'd be super showy.
It'd be very showy, and it would get the city guardians on their asses pretty quick.
That sounds like the kind of thing that would do that.
And the battle mages I mentioned to you before stream, those guys are the city guardians.
Oh, okay.
And they're the ones who are legally allowed to use the most magic within the walls.
So these guys are, I mean, I bet secret murderers is probably like exactly the wrong term, but like they're not like the Hashashin order who used to just like get baked out of their mind so that like they wouldn't have any fear and then just run up and just stab someone in the middle of the street.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
That's actually where we get the word assassin from, is the Hashashin.
It's amazing.
Which is like it's like an ancient Arabic word that means hashish eaters, and hashish was like this like super strong like form of what am I calling it? Of like pot.
That's amazing. I have learned a thing today. I have no idea what I'm doing with this pose.
It's a great pose, though.
I'm just going.
It's a fantastic pose. I'm still here. Um, remember, you have to add clothing before you add tits if they're going to be a woman.
The unbearable urge to just add tits now.
Do not get me started.
I know. I just the unbearable urge.
Right? Like I like before stream I had to sit down and like doodle a couple like sets of booba just to make sure that I wouldn't do it like here.
That's amazing. 10 out of 10. I love you, Bill.
I love you too, Grayler. This is like I'm having like tons of fun. I didn't like announce this anywhere, and I probably should have.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah, but like we'll do that next time.
We're just vibing.
Yeah. Let's see.
This should be amusing because I'm probably gonna look up no references, and I'm a terrible fashion designer.
That's alright. You give me a lot to go on here. I think like the idea of
I'm also trying to think like I would imagine some of the natives also find their ways into these groups, the more disgruntled ones that are like fucking people who moved here.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like this is like a very kind of like religious thing, even if you're not like a believer. I feel like the trappings of religion are probably surrounding these shrouds.
Probably, yeah. Because like with things like these, I feel like people like to have a type of belief system just so that there's some kind of order happening, even if it's not necessarily religious.
Yeah. Also, it probably makes it like easier to do like this kind of work or job.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I have to step away for a minute. The doggo really needs to go out and he doesn't want to go up the stairs without me.
No worries, no worries.
I will be. Right
yeah, now. I will be here trying to finish my figure.
I will BRB here.
Yeah. That's a great notion. Okay, we'll see you in a minute.
Be right back.
I will probably try to announce it if she's doing that. I really should, and I hadn't. Let me see. I'm thinking advantages is an interesting one. Let me see. Yeah, I'm thinking, like, with the whole religious trappings and everything, that I definitely want, like, trying to, like, almost like a shrouded order kind of thing with the bandages. Actually, like, I want them, like, leaning forwards, like, looking intently at this. It's not supposed to be so good at magic, but like a little good at magic. Like maybe able to do a little bit of it. Let me see. I think like the idea, even if ninja was like a prompt, I don't think that's quite the right aesthetic. Like, especially not for Metropolis. Like, I feel like we need something more urban. So, I think they'd be trying to kind of blur and fit in, so let's see what we can do here. The bandage theme. What if they look kind of like leather? Yeah, because we're often like shrouded in rags and things. So let's say, yeah, let's say here and here. Be able to move, so let's have a shorter skirt, the outfit. I'm not sure about the idea of like pants. However, actually, why don't we have like loose pants? And then we'll have everything below like just wrapped up in bandages. City streets, cobbles. You're gonna want like some kind of relatively solid footwear. I actually like the idea that maybe they have these like soft shoes. Let me see. And you have to move the bandages theme across like the arms, but I think I actually want them to have these like short sleeves. Don't worry, this all makes sense in a minute. And there we go. Yeah. Mode. Hello, Mode. How are you doing? We're doing a new thing tonight. We are working on, Trailer is unfortunately away at the moment, but she and I are working on each of us have like these like I guess like D&D sort of and she and I are working on trying to bring to life this idea of what a class or similar concept might be from her own world. So yeah, we're talking about that design. Probably get dip into like some of how it would look. It's like a class design as well later on. How are you doing tonight, Mode? It's great to see you.
Hello, Mode.
Hey, she's back.
I'm back.
I have to look at that. Oh no, that's fine. I can work on that.
Oh, right. I'm gonna do another layer.
Yep, there we go. I was thinking about it. Like I said, I had to get into like the outfit design. I don't know if your world has like leprosy or anything like that, right?
I mean, there probably is something along those lines.
And like god of they're followers of like this god of being like downtrodden and things like that. And they have the bandages. And I was kind of like drawing some inspiration from the idea of like, what if they like, let's say even pose, but like adopted like guises similar to lepers in like their approach and orientation towards outfits. So I started kind of moving in that direction. I have no idea like how you envision them. Like, tell me about Riftwall.
Rookwall.
Rookwall. Yeah,
Rookwall.
Like oh crap. Like
I guess just ask me a question. What do you want to know about Rookwall? It's the only place I have like roughly fleshed out, so I'll probably still trail off places, but I will tell you what I can, because we did try to get enough of it that we did at least 3 sessions there.
Oh no, I've been putting this all in the wrong layer.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's
the curse.
Yeah, the curse. Okay, that's fine. I'll put it on the right layer this time.
It helps if I switch back to the pants.
Let me get like, I think a 30 is good. You're shooting for a bit longer, maybe an hour, but I want to say hi and I'm here supporting. Well, Mode, thank you so much. I hope the stream goes wonderfully. I saw that you're playing some kind of game. I hope it's going really great. If you want to swing by afterwards, like, I think we'll probably be here.
Probably.
Yeah, because... Yeah, probably gonna go for like 2 or 3 hours or something. There we go. Yeah, so Rickwall? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about like how it is like fashion-wise. It's like I imagine they look. It's a part of the point of ninjas conceptually was that they just looked like peasants. They were just in garb.
Yeah. So I know Rookwall is built by folks that like came in and settled it, so they're a little bit more, there's a lot of tunics and breeches and things like that, but it is an island, so I would imagine there's also a lot of just islander style clothing mixed in, but I haven't actually bothered to look at a lot of islander style clothing.
What kind of islander?
Oh. I think we went over the other day that it's probably an equatorial type of island because it doesn't get winter. Like, it doesn't get
Yeah,
snow.
it has to be somewhere like, unless there's magic shenanigans going on, that's definitely somewhere equatorial.
I mean, there's magic shenanigans, but not as far as, like,
The
they're not
weather.
bothering to climate control the whole island.
The weather is natural.
Yeah. The weather is natural unless some of the bigger magic players start screwing around, but that is frowned upon greatly, so it doesn't happen a whole lot.
I mean, if I had the power to magically air condition an island, you know I would be doing it.
Yes. But see, there's I think we ended up throwing some frog and lizard folk somewhere on the island, and they might not appreciate sudden air conditioning.
No, probably the lizard folk least of all. Well, actually, amphibians need warmth too, don't they?
Yeah, they can. I mean, they can. I think there's like frogs and stuff that'll hibernate through super cold, but no, for the most part, they like a comfortable warmth with humidity.
Yeah. So they sound very, I guess European-y to me so far, the settlers.
The folks that moved in
Kind of Germanic with breeches and tunics.
Kinda, yeah, with those guys. Which is probably par for the course if we go for, like, real world history. European, Germanic folks just kind of moving around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I said, it's back in 2009, so I wasn't, like, try to do anything super, super wow.
But yeah, no, like, no judgment here. I actually, like, don't get me wrong, like, uh-oh. Maybe did I just lose your strand?
Oh,
no, there it goes. It's back.
Is it back? Okay. As long as it's back.
Yeah. Oh, it's literally rook wall. Okay, like a bird.
It is literally rook wall.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay.
But, the guardianship mostly resides in the tower. The tower doubles as barracks and a training grounds. They will train more than the guardianship to use magic. It's that city's the most magic accepting in that timeline.
Okay.
Like, there's magic outside of this island, obviously, but there's kind of, again, mixed reviews, as it were, in the different locales. But that place, if you, like, really want to just get really dedicated, that's the easiest place to go learn without having some random fanatic going, "You're going against my god and doing things that you shouldn't. You're playing with the forces." Because there's a couple places that are like that.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it.
There's always going to be those.
Oh, definitely. Like, that's amazing, though.
It's like there's that, and some of those types will still be like, but the apothecary's okay because those are still like plants, and we're just using the plant's properties or whatever. And then there's the extremist ones that are like, you can't use the apothecary. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
You must accept whatever fate hands you.
Yeah.
But ideally, that won't happen to me.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, so you get a lot of those in some places, and so, like, I know the Western continent, I had very, very stereotypical, like, with like castles and whatever else. But yeah, Rickwall is kind of smack dab in the middle of that island, and then there's the big port town. So I guess it'd be a city still. It's pretty big. Taddingport. Excuse me. And there's like some farming settlements, and then you've got the native folk settlements. But Rickwall is the melting pot of the island. They do get a lot of foreigners traveling to and from the island just because it's kind of like the hub of the world there.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people bringing things in for trade, and some people taking things out for trade, and so it's fairly densely populated. There's a lot of streets and side roads and alleyways and whatnot, which is why I was like, definitely not longer blades, because if they're down a narrow between two buildings, you're not going to want to have a long sword. It's like Goblin Slayer. No. You don't go down the goblin hole with a long sword. You're going to hit it on everything.
I've never seen Goblin Slayer. Did you know that?
The first episode starts a little dark, but it lightens up pretty much immediately after that, for the most part. But I do enjoy it. It's very dandy.
What is it? Can I just call it Rickwall for the moment?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to say this, and I didn't know what to call I don't know what to call your world.
I don't remember if I named like the entire world. The island is called Eden Isle.
I'm gonna name it Eden then.
Eden. I thought that was funny, so it's like, I'm gonna call this Eden Isle, but there's gonna be all kinds of nonsense going on.
Okay, there we go. Eden, Shrouds, that's right.
Shroud.
Yeah. So these things would probably start out like very mundane by the sound of it, I think.
Yeah.
Like level 1 sneak attack. Like maybe some kind of like stealth skill.
Yeah, because I suppose they probably wouldn't necessarily like initiate people with, or like if you're actually doing like, this is the absolute beginning of my character story, they're probably gonna start with Shadow Step stuff, but
yeah, and then like
definitely some kind of stealth, because even as dense as the city is, as far as like buildings and people and stuff, like you've got guardians all along the towers.
Wow.
That takes shifts.
That's a lot
of people. They gotta pick space. And they use scout, like they'll conjure up magical scout bird things that also are messenger birds, whatever, but they don't constantly have the birds flying, but you know, if they're like, they're still gonna do periodic sweeps.
So they probably start getting, I'm thinking like, cause like 5th edition kind of style, like 5th edition or like Pathfinder, like, cause Spheres of Magic was PF1, so I don't know like what system you want me to try and talk in.
Whatever one works.
I can do both, which is why like I'm asking you.
I honestly don't think I've used either one strongly enough to have a preference or like a full understanding of either. I know I've used Pathfinder 1 with Spheres of Power the most, but
so
had a lot of hand holding.
I will talk in those terms then. So like PF1, I'm thinking like full sneak attack bonuses, right? Like I'm assuming this would be like a proper class or like a prestige class.
Mm-hmm.
No, Witchin.
Oh gosh, remind me what was the difference of a prestige one?
Prestige classes like last for like 5 or 10 levels, and then probably you'd have other classes.
Probably prestige, I guess.
Okay. Okay, so this is like a.
Because you would have one, like the higher rank guys dipping into like they're finding ways to learn more magic than what is necessarily like okayed to the public.
Yeah, that's so this is like this is like a prestige class for either like a magic user or like a rogue, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I have this like thing going on that they're doing. I need to work on some of it.
I need to peek at yours
in
a minute. I need to peek at yours in a minute.
Yeah, I'm about to start coming in and
I haven't peeked at yours yet.
No. Don't you dare. No,
don't peek it aloud.
No, I look at yours, so like it's absolutely like that's perfectly by rights, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Just go.
Okay.
I'm totally gonna forget what layer I'm on in a minute. Fine.
So this is like, I feel like you'd have to be able to sneak attack to take this class.
Yeah.
You'd have to be able to sneak attack.
I hope.
You'd probably need to be able to also cast like first level spells equivalent. And then Spheres of Power does it different layers, but uses the same basic ranks idea.
Yeah. Yeah, magic is pretty prevalent in my setting, especially in Riftwall, just because it is kind of like the which is why we ended up doing Spheres of Power for the Tower Guardians, because it was the only thing free form enough to let them cast and do weapons and not be quite so constrained on what they were able to do in general.
Yeah. Makes sense. Like the thing about them is that like as I guess like doing like a prestige class, like you need to be able to, I guess, what is it called, initiate with one sphere of magic, and like in Spheres of Power, I think it's like initiate or something.
Mikey?
You'd have to have that. You'd have to have, I think, at least like 2 levels of sneak attacks, like at least 2d6. I like the idea that they could, like, I don't know if there's like a poison sphere, because I don't know the spheres of power that well, right?
I think there were, maybe not like dedicated, but I feel like there was a thing that is like at least in that neighborhood.
Yeah. So I feel like,
I know there's like weather spheres and destruction spheres.
yeah, I feel like there needs to be they need to be able to have access to something that lets them, like, add poison to their weapons, like, on command. Or even if it's just a spell like ability, just like once a day, they can, like, if they have like a poison on them, they can automatically apply it to their weapon as like a swift action.
Yeah. Should probably be writing it down.
I mean, we'll have bots. We will have
We'll
bots.
have fun. I'll go back afterward and write everything down. Guaranteed, I will forget like an hour after we're done.
Oh yeah, that's fine. That's how I do, right?
Yeah.
No, I have an encyclopedic memory that intermittently functions. Is what my deal is.
I could understand that.
I can remember a bunch of stuff, but whether or not I can remember it at the moment I
On
want
demand,
it,
yeah.
is very variable.
The data's there,
but it does
the
not
connectivity
come out.
to it is not always.
Yeah, I actually see them as like a D6 class. Hilarious. I don't see them as being very durable, like the way that they're coming together.
Just being glass cannons or whatever.
Yeah, well, their whole thing is like they shouldn't be. Like, you shouldn't see them like running up to you, right?
You shouldn't. So maybe we'll do a sub or alternate where you have the more like.
Yeah. Yeah, prestige classes don't usually get the alternate thing. Archetypes. They're called archetypes.
Maybe it's archetype. We'll do archetype.
Yeah. Could do that though, yeah. If we were to do it as like a full 1 through 20 class, I think that could work. I think what you'd have is you'd have something that was like a little bit magic user and like a little bit rogue. I feel
definitely be picking your brain on like how to build classes. I definitely want to have like tweaked things for these everybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely, right? Like, and I'm in very much like the same kind of boat where like I like to build like my own classes.
And like if you know how to build and stat like creatures, I will worship you.
Please, I don't think I'd make a very good deity, but I can help with that. Like, we're gonna be doing creatures, and I'm gonna be like trying to stat them out as we're drawing them. So yeah, why don't we do it as like a full class, right? Because I feel like this is a very like a big thing, like an important thing in the world.
Right.
And I feel like it's something that could be like applied beyond Rookwall, if you agree.
Yeah, because I mean the dude we're doodling out now would probably just be like Rookwall's flavor of them.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah, so let's say they have sneak attack progression. Let's give them most of a sneak attack progression, because it goes up to like 9d6, I want to say, or 10d6. So let's cap them at like 7 or 8. And let's say sneak attack at level 1 and then like at 3rd level and every 3 levels thereafter. For those of you who are wondering, we're kind of doing it with like Pathfinder 1 3.5 D&D rule set. It's using a system also called the Spheres of Power for magic, which I'm less familiar with, but still I know a little bit about.
Spheres of Power can get pretty wild.
Oh yeah.
Especially once you add in things like mythic and gestalting. Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never used mythic because I don't exactly like a mythic.
My first Pathfinder session was jumping in at level 11, Mythic 4.
Oh, holy hell! That
And I had only had one 5th edition session before that,
Oh
ever.
wow. Okay. That's
That I
like
didn't know what I was doing.
that's like right into the deep end. Okay.
Right into the deep end, and we homebrewed my character's race because we pulled it from my setting, and I was like, yeah, wouldn't it be funny if I use this character? And he was like, sure. And I was like, wait, really? And he's like, yeah, we'll just homebrew something. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, homebrewing for life, yeah.
Homebrewing for life. I focused way too much on the bandages for no reason.
Oh, I mean, you
I've gone
definitely
nowhere
did.
because I was
They're amazing. But you've inspired me to try and do like more detail and stuff. So
just
like,
the only thing I focused on.
oh, I love him though. He's great.
See if I can slowly inch any of that focus into the rest of them.
Yeah, I ended up doing mine's a she because you were doing a he, so I figured we'd have some dichotomy there.
Variety.
Yeah.
Get some delis with it. The other way. Get some jellies with our delis. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Jellies with our delis? That's amazing. I like it.
Jellies,
Okay.
delis, and turnovers. Let's go.
Oh, I haven't had a turnover in ages.
Right?
Like, who even makes turnovers anymore? If you make turnovers, please let me know. Like, I really want to know.
I'm gonna have to look up recipes for turnovers. They're so good.
Right? And it's like,
Looks way too big.
yeah. It's dynamic, though. But yeah, it is too big, technically. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's all just wrinkles. But
Yeah, so like, yeah, level 1, they're making sneak attack. I think at like level 4, it's probably time to start introducing another thing. Especially for sticking it at like D6. Then we definitely need to like have something else in there. I think at level 4, like we have to limit what sphere. I feel like with the spheres of magic, there'd be like a limit on what spheres they could actually like use.
I would probably say yes, without them like pursuing very specific
Wilhelm.
routes.
Hello, Wilhelm. How are you doing?
Wilhelm.
Well, you can always multi-class to get like other ones, right?
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess I got used to like the really crazy add-ons and builds and stuff. So like, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to people gestalting at some point either. But
yeah,
I would want story reasons for why you're doing it.
Oh yeah, but I mean, just, like as a core class.
Yeah.
Yeah, like at level 4, and then let's introduce the spheres at level 4, and they can pick like a new ability from like a sphere. At like levels like 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. That gives them some limited magic, potentially potent magic. Like they could be really limited and like be really powerful in a single area, or they could be like less limited but not have a lot of power.
Yeah. So that if you want to be the util assassin.
Yeah. So what we're doing tonight, Wilhelm, is we are trying to design and draw a class from friend Cradler's little homebrew world and setting. Next week. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I've just started like trying to fix like this head shape on the wrong layer.
Oh.
You know, like you do.
Like you do. Next week we will be doing something from my world.
Yeah.
I can't promise it will be a class, but like we have a table
We have a table that we're just kind of rolling on.
Yeah. And I'm going to be polishing up some so that it rolls a little bit better than it did today, because we had some combinations that were literally undoable.
We just weren't ready for those.
Yeah. Well, not just not ready, but yeah, not ready at all. Like, there's no way
Like,
I could do
much farther down the road combination.
Yeah.
But this was okay, because, like, this is an excuse to kind of flesh some stuff out, and it's obtainable.
Yeah. Ooh, Destiny 2's Season 17 storyline. I don't think Destiny 2 works. Is it, like, storyline based? Like, you'll have to explain that to me at some point, because I don't know. No, I like that better that way, actually. Yeah, okay. But yeah, like, it's like, that gives you, like, what? One we give them 2 at level 4, and then that gives them a total of, 6 different spheres of power choices.
6 is good.
Yeah, I think 6 works for this class. And then we'll also introduce, like, additional themes. Like, I feel like at level 7 is probably a great time to start introducing the idea of, like, we can do things with poison. Brandon, thank you so much for the little bit cheers. I need to redo that so everyone can see, like, the little hearts, like, flashing on the screen.
Little heart.
Yeah, it's pulsing hearts. Okay, stretch and
do
save.
things like
Okay.
poison on the fly versus, like, having to pre-prep with actual items.
Hang on. Okay, I've saved it. I've saved it. You can't see it because it doesn't capture it correctly, but I have saved it. Stretch. Okay, oh my goodness. My back just cracked like 3 vertebrae for that. And, okay, I'll hydrate. Oh, wow, yeah. So I was having a horrible headache earlier today. I was generally feeling like awful because of some pressure-related issues. I'm okay now, right? But so rather than get like a little thimble for this or whatever they're called, I just poured some some like Dayquil equivalent into my cup. Like yeah, because like it's not Dayquil, right? I have a different physiology, but like it's liquid painkiller into my cup. Just like so I can still taste the flavoring agent from it in my water.
No. What a strange tea you have made.
Yeah, this is this oddly potent brew. So, also Brandon asked, CT, Cradler, you're now, unfortunately, you're on Twitch. You're now subjected to the rules of the Twitch existence. So you now have to stretch, save, and hydrate.
The stretch.
Did you hear something pop from your side?
The chair do a squeak when I lean back far enough. Stretching hurts. Probably because I don't do it enough.
Chair squeaks when you lean back far enough. That's because you're thick.
Yes. Also, like, twist the chair around and try to pop my back on it.
Oh yeah. I can't do that. My chair will not tolerate that.
Go the other way. Got at least one to pop.
Oh, nice.
Take a sip.
Yeah. Yeah, but like, yes, like I think at like level 5, you can no longer poison yourself with normal poisons, right? Like when you use them.
Hmm.
Like that seems about on brand to me, right?
Probably, because level
Um,
5, you're starting to get like normal logic sense. Like 5, you're starting to become like basically a legendary adventurer, right?
nah, no, like 5 is like you now become like locally famous at 5. Like you're known, but you're not legendary yet. 10 is where you're like, there's few other people in the world that have started to get to 10. Like 10 is like most adventurers make it to like level 5 to 7. But like, I think like level, like who actually keep going with it. But I think like 10 to 12 is like where it's like, okay, very few people start making it around this area. Um, Also, Ifabu! Hello, my darling
Yeah.
pet. Hopefully you're doing well this evening. Like, I don't know how you're doing it, but yeah.
I was just kind of loosely what I vaguely remember from something somewhere probably 6 years ago now.
Okay.
Maybe not 6 years ago. I don't know. What is time?
Time is an illusion, lunchtime doubly so. Uh, oh, Irabu had a chimichanga for the first time. I'm glad it was good. Chimichangas are excellent. Uh, Holy crap! Mode! Mode is invading. Oh, okay, fine. I
Hello,
will
invaders.
posture check. Okay, no shrink backs. I have to lean back now. Mode, hello. Let's go. We have a raid.
Hello, raiders.
Welcome to the hive, everyone. I don't know if any of you are unfamiliar. If you are, I am Mistress Velix, your local Vegator, alien watcher from on high. And tonight, I am being joined by the one, the only, the gremlin, CrazyToddler, who I will call Cradler forever and ever. And we are talking about, we are homebrewing some stuff because we both are world builders and we both are artist people.
I'll tell you straight up, Bella's a way better world builder.
Well, you're a way better artist, so
Lies.
I guess it works out. And so what we thought we'd do is we're gonna start doing like World Forge Thursdays, where we go back and forth and just develop concepts from our worlds to see if we can't like get them to the point where they would be like functional. I'm really looking forward to doing it. Also, Mode, I hope you enjoy all of your noms. Yes, Irabu is our fruit expert. Because I can't be anymore, because I can't eat things from your hell world of a planet. And before anyone argues with me and says that the Earth is not a hell world, you have a frog that has enough poison to kill 1,000 people.
And it's very cute.
It looks like something you're supposed to pick up. It's adorable. It's if you want to hold it and stroke it and pet it. And if you do, you die.
Dead.
So tonight, my hivelings, what we've been working on in this encounter is we have been working on a class in Cradler's world, because that's what the prompts have told us to do. That is currently called the Shroud. That is sort of what they have instead of like assassins and maybe rogues to a little bit of a degree. We are talking in Pathfinder First Edition or D&D 3.5 edition if you're familiar. And if you have questions about like anything, just I don't know, feel free to like yell it out or whatever. Like I'll read it, and like I don't think either of us mind. We chatty.
Hey, questions are how we prompt the growth thing. Like,
exactly.
Look how far we got with just this. Like, what about that?
Yeah.
Won't promise totally polished answers, but
also,
that's okay.
Wilhelm, that's kind of nifty. I feel like it's interesting vis-a-vis Destiny, but I already played Warframe. I don't think I need to try and take on another one. I may look into it at some point though if people really want me to, but I have more sturdy equipment. Where was I? Oh right, we were at level 7. Where it's like you can't... No, level 5? Yeah, level 5, you can't poison yourself anymore.
Yeah.
Like... I feel like at level 7, poisoning should become like a swift action since it's a big part of their thing. And swift actions are an action type that many classes don't have a lot to do with. So I like the idea that they can just apply a poison that they have on their person as a swift action. Poisons also, unless you like homebrew them or kind of make.
Those would probably also get beefed up then, because like I don't. It's also like like exotic weapons like whip weapons, like those always look super weak, and like I want to fix that too.
Whip weapons actually do have like a point and a purpose, funnily enough, but it's not to fight with. I mean, it is to fight with, but not to do damage. It's mostly used for doing combat maneuvers with. That's like the idea behind, like, if you want to do like combat maneuvers, like a whip weapon is one of the weapons that you can get that lets you really like delve into that.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah. So they have a purpose. I don't know if it's strong enough. So I haven't looked into it. Whips is not my area of expertise, right?
I just remember things being like 1d4 damage, and I was like, oof.
They don't do the damage, but like, if you did some like horrible like degen like brawler whip build, you could like grab someone, trip them, drag them, and then just like I don't know, like wrestling launch on top of them, and that could like actually probably work pretty well. I don't know if it could or not, but I would certainly let it work at my table. That's amazing, actually.
Yes.
That should be like a thing. Like whip luchador should be yes.
It could be kind of amazing, not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, definitely. But what was I saying? Yeah, like so level 7, you can poison it as a swift action. I feel like at level 12, once per round, you can apply poison to a weapon, like an individual weapon. Let's keep it as a free action. So I imagine their shadow dancing is gonna have like more swift action stuff as well.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, like like since they're so frail, do you think like their shadow dancing is predominantly utility and like defensive?
Maybe?
Yeah. Like we can roll with that. Or did you want to more be about like mobility?
Well, I mean, mobility is like it would definitely be part of it, because like you maybe not quite like, or maybe it would be. I know at least lower levels it would probably more be like making sure you're hidden and so that you can perform a sneak attack. Maybe at the upper levels, more like full-on shadow step. Like, I have stepped into the shadow. I am in a different shadow now.
Yeah. So I feel like that this is a Spheres of Power uses mana points, basically, right? It's like a point value system.
Yeah, there's like spell points instead of.
Yeah. So I feel like basically with that, like, they'd spend spell points on like small things. Like, they could spend some spell points, like starting at level 4, to increase their stealth by becoming like more shadowy, maybe.
Yeah.
And then I like the idea that level 4, then every 3 levels after that, you have like a small you have like a choice of, say, 3 powers, right? Because when classes just give you something that is like, this is what you get, that's okay for some things. But if you're doing like a full class, right, that can get really like problematic, because it means that there's not like, the only player choice then is whether or not I'm going to be this class, not how do I want to make this thing. And I feel like a lot of your stuff is like revolves around this idea of like, especially using Spheres of Power, that like you can make choices about how to express your character.
Yeah, and that was another thing I liked with that, was because like when I get asked to make a character for tabletop and it frustrates a lot of people, I'm not actually paying that close to what's on the paper, other than like, does that fit the character that I want? I'm not looking at the build necessarily like, oh, this is a build I want to play.
Well, I kind of agree. Like, classes should be very heavily like the magic, and abilities, I agree that they should be usable, right? I do agree to that. I feel like if they're going to be like, they need to be like flavorful as well. Glaives are a blade on a stick with a gun, and also they have a shield. That's absurd, Wilhelm. And Brandon, what class are we making? We are making, we're working on the Shroud, which is going to be a class for CrazyToddler's world. And we're building them around the great metropolis city of Rookwall.
Yeah,
Rookwall. I'm gonna remember the name at some point.
I gotta go to the bathroom again real quick because I hydrated a lot.
you will with my hydlings, they will get you to hydrate.
I'm gonna start sloshing.
Oh, I remember that. Oh, yeah, that's why it has a cooldown now.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Take care. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're making the Shroud, which is kind of like a little like a rogue, a little like a sorcerer, and a little like an assassin. The prompt for like what kind of things to try and do was based around like the idea of like, what would like a ninja look like in this world, conceptually. And so we started talking about it, and the thing that kind of works for them for this whole thing is, there's this order of assassins, and I think I'm getting the lore right here. There's an order of assassins that worships a god of like poverty and degradation, and a lot of their adherents come from people who are lower class, who are not doing well, and they come in and they start off with relatively like more, I guess, like mundane sorts of powers and abilities, but they get some abilities related to using poison. They get a little bit of magical skill, and they learn how to do a little bit of shadow walking for movement and for stealth. So they're very kind of like shadows and poison, I think, is like a big theme here. And so as we're discussing this and working it out, we are like trying to draw images of how they might look. And you can definitely tell which one of us is the better artist here. I don't necessarily think I'm a shabby artist, but I definitely feel like CrazyToddler has been well made. Mode, I don't know. I would not object to that. I would not object to that. We will have to ask, when CrazyToddler's currently away, so like when she gets back, we can talk about that. You're probably more fluent than we are. I actually recently just got off of GMing a 4-year-long TF1 campaign, but I would not consider myself like an expert at it. I do a lot of homebrew. I understand, like, I have some ideas of like balance and rules, but I would not consider myself like an expert at the minutia of it. But like if she's a-okay with it, I have no issues with you as one of the GMs like joining the conversation. And if you like World Forge Thursdays, next week we're doing something from my world that is the world that I want to try and get together more. To actually do like a game for stream in. So it'll be like a little bit of a preview of that in some ways. No, we do new layer. Yeah, we're just going and chatting about this and trying to get some artwork in. I've lost a CrazyToddler because people have made her hydrate too much.
We got a little hydrated.
we got a little hydrated here. Don't worry about it. Okay, CrazyToddler, Mode wants to know if he can join the conversation to talk about like the class mechanics with us as we're working this. Yeah, okay.
I think so.
Yeah,
he knows more about it than I do. Both of you guys know more about mechanics than I do.
Let me see what I can do here.
I was gonna say, most of my stuff, if you ask me about it, I'm gonna think of it just from like raw world setting basis.
Yeah.
You guys are basically helping me translate.
I think I got it. Oh crap. I did a CrazyToddler. Oh crap. You're gonna have to like start streaming again because I messed up on that one.
Oh no.
Yeah, oh no. But I can do this.
Uh-oh.
I didn't know how this worked, and we weren't server based for once. I need to make a room for this.
There we go.
Okay.
That's okay. Technically, this chat will just be here forever until everybody leaves.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. I gotta do like a weird thing.
Take your time.
Because okay, so if I do that, that should get it. Okay, so I think we got it. Okay, we are back. I just gotta
There you go.
There we go. Okay, and it's properly sized and everything again. Yay. Okay. Oh, he's got like little scratchy rings on.
Oh yeah, I added that. I don't know. I just like I'm gonna do this now.
No, I actually really like it. It's gone in such a different direction from the way mine has gone, but like I love it.
I still need to peek at yours. I'm just going blind. It's fine.
Nothing wrong with going blind.
Yeah, no.
So-
Blind fight. Oh, I had to use blind fight once. That was fun.
Blind fight is fun.
Blind fight's great.
I actually have a character.
My character had their eyes burned out from raw chaotic energy.
Damn. Okay. Hang on. Wait a second, Mode. I gotta go back into this thing and I gotta set you up so that you're, because right now you're not showing up, so hang on.
It's okay.
Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna have to go. Okay, I have to get a thing, but this is fine. We can do this.
So do you need me to send you one?
No.
Okay.
I have to get your,
So you know what I found out recently, actually?
What'd you find out?
I found out that you can put GIFs inside Fujitech.
What's
And so I've been
Fujitech?
doing... Fujitech's the thing where we speak.
That
like, and
little
our things come up there.
little PNG thingies.
Yeah, little
Oh,
PNG things we're
okay.
using. Yeah, but you can put a GIF in there, and you can actually, like, when you speak. So, like, what I'm planning on doing is like having the inactive image kind of look like they bounce up and down a little bit, kind of like where you're before talking to somebody. And then,
That's
like, I want to put,
amazing.
and then I'm gonna set the speaking image to where the mouth flaps.
I'd do that now too, though.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, hang on.
So that way, whenever I talk, it'll do the little mouth flaps and stuff like that, and I'm like, ah, yes.
Yeah,
I didn't realize you could do that.
That's amazing. I did not know that either. Hang on. I need to get you so that you're.
Someone told me.
Hey, Irabu, are you all right? He's like. I don't know what that emoji is, Irabu. Is this about the little bouncy
Stars in
things?
your eyes.
Could be. Yeah. Yeah, I always call it reactive, which is why I was so confused. Okay, there we go. Okay. No worries about the zone. I'm just happy you're here zoning with us.
All the zone.
Okay, hang on. Oh wow, you are now officially, you would be a giant. Okay.
Giant.
There it is. Okay. I'm gonna stick you in the middle, like between us.
Easy mode sandwich.
Exactly. Yeah, easy mode sandwich. Okay.
Eating the sandwich?
Yeah, okay, here we go. And he's becoming extant. Awesome, okay. We're all good. We're all good, boys, girls. No, boys, girls. Neither's an in-between. That's how it goes.
Jellies, dillies, and turnovers.
1 minute I was sitting in my room. Next thing I know, I'm slowly fading into this chat area. Where am I? What's going on?
Don't worry about it. Just go back. Afterwards, you'll just go back to sleep. Everything will be fine. Just don't go in the south field tomorrow.
Yeah, the south field would be a bad place.
See, I'm gonna wake up in the north field, but naked, and be like, "What is going on?"
Don't travel south.
Mode, I promise you're not gonna be in the north field.
Okay, I like how that's what you had to verify, not the fact that I was butt naked. So I'm still gonna end up butt naked. I'm just not gonna end up in the north field now.
I mean, I promise to only tell people the truth, right? So like, I should definitely stick to the truth.
Oh yes. Oh man, I'm so sorry. That's funny. Give me just 1 second. My cat has decided that he wishes to go outside, but when I go to pick him up to take him outside, he decides to run from me. I don't understand what his problem is.
He's cat.
He's cat.
He is cat. Yes, it's true. But yeah, 1 second, and then we can talk about this.
Yeah. That's like, have you heard about the greatest Tabaxi role player ever?
Tell me.
So what happened was, they went, the description was something like this, like, my character goes into the inn, then back out of the inn, then into the inn, then back out of the inn, then kind of stands sort of in between in the middle of the doorway for a minute, then goes over to the bar and asks for a drink. No, not the drink. Ask for a drink. No. Don't refill like the half empty drink that I left by the bar. Give me like an entirely new drink, please. Not that old icky one. I'm gonna sniff at it, look at it, take a tiny sip from it, set it down, and then go over to stand next to the doorway like I'm about to exit it, but not actually go through it.
10-10.
It's like they have mastered cat.
10-10 best cat.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't know.
10-10 best cat.
10-10 best cat.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna do that. Oh no, that wasn't what I meant to do.
What'd you do?
I made a vector layer that I didn't mean to do.
Yay, vector layer.
Like, I actually really want to get good at vector layers, but I haven't.
They're very useful, but I haven't quite adjusted to the one in CSP.
Huh.
Because I'm so used to the vector layer in Psy.
I mean, sometimes you gotta go with what you know, right?
Yeah, which is why whenever I do vector line work, I'll do it in Psy, and then I'll come back over to CSP.
See, I'm lucky in that because I'm learning, I can just like start in Psy and be like, haha.
On me as I refill this cup.
Okay, so after fighting me about going outside, apparently all he wanted was food, but he has food in his bowl, so he had to
Not
wait until I
that
put in a
food.
little bit more food,
Yeah,
Well, he was starving. It was empty.
right?
not
It
that
was
food,
almost. He
though.
could see the rim of the bowl.
I could see the
It's
bottom of
empty.
the bowl.
It's empty.
Therefore, it's empty.
Yes.
Yep.
I swear.
It's
Cats.
not
Oh,
full,
no,
so it's
I'm-
empty.
I'm not done yet. I thought it was done. I'm not actually done.
Cats.
Okay.
Cats are one of those mysterious creatures. Okay, so
Yeah, we were talking about design. We're trying to do. Doesn't talk about being a prestige class, but ultimately, I think we decided to do like a 1 through 20 class. Are you
I was
familiar
gonna
with this?
ask. I was gonna ask if it was gonna be a prestige class or if it was gonna be like an archetype or.
No, we're just
What
doing
kind
a
of setting?
class. I guess you might be able to make this like a rogue archetype if you really wanted to. But like,
Well, let's go with original class for now.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna assume that it has features that are different enough from Rogue to warrant it being its own class.
oh yeah, definitely. And I guess the other like the other big like thing is, are you familiar with the spheres of magic spheres of power?
I'm not familiar with, but I know of. I've actually talked to Roddy a couple times because Roddy apparently absolutely loves the system.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was
he's-
his fault.
He's a
Tired.
huge fan of it, and
Yeah.
that's
And
what's being used for magic here.
Okay. And it's something that I've looked into, but I haven't been able to like sit down and actually go through it. And the reason why is because it's so extensive.
Yeah, we went
It's a
with
huge
that because it's
overhaul.
just more freeform and it fit what I had. Because my setting was not actually initially intended for tabletop.
Well, it also is one of those things that you can. So like, for now, what we could do is we could go with what is basically considered regular magic. And then all you have to do is rip the magic system out and then put the spheres of power system in.
It does not convert
For that
neatly like that.
It doesn't? Because for what I was.
No. Like, it has its own, like, wizard sorcerer classes and stuff like that, basically.
Yeah, and you have access to so much more at lower levels.
Brandon, I'd like you to say something in chat. Easy. Wait, have I lost? Yeah, there you go. You're coming through fine.
Yeah, I say I should be coming through fine. Can you not hear me, Brandon, for some reason?
Like, I see you coming through being broadcast, so.
See, I see myself bouncing up and down. I don't know if I. Let me hold on. Unmute.
The bouncing may not correspond to sound, so like, please do check.
Okay, yeah, I'm coming through.
Yeah, so I thought.
Yeah. Now, I might be like a little lower than you guys or something, but even then,
I know we
not,
had to adjust
you know.
me a bit, so I don't know.
You're a little. Just want to tag him.
Oh,
Just want to
okay.
tag
See,
you in chat.
I mean, my stuff was right there, but hi. There you go.
Yeah.
You can tag me now.
Yeah. Also, for those who do not know him, Easy Mozart is oh, you're seeing Vampire Survivors. That's awesome. Easy Mozart is a wonderful, wonderful individual. He is the world support class, and he's a great mind at trying to sit down and figure out issues. So yeah, we're World Forge Thursdays is now like a thing. It hasn't been a complete failure, so I'm gonna keep going with it.
Oh, I think we're having fun.
Oh, we're having a ton of fun.
I don't know if everybody else is having fun, but we're having fun.
I was more
I'm rolling blind, so
I was more referring to like as like a streaming endeavor.
Oh yeah.
I mean, as long as you guys are having fun, that's what matters.
Oh yeah.
Like people will tune in or they won't. You know.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I think that overall, y'all been having a consistent like 4 to 7 viewers, which is pretty good.
Oh yeah, that is not bad. It's
whatever we're doing.
Yeah, it's that is like honestly, I'm only riding like a little bit below my usual averages.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
No, okay.
Alright, so
and it's a completely new kind of content, so we're gonna see how it tracks. But when you chat that thing of like other stuff that I wanted to do, like this is like all of the content I want to do that I haven't been doing kind of at once.
Sense. I mean, I would love to do, like I said, we've talked about doing D&D at some point or some sort of
we are
tabletop.
doing it. Like I'm actually
like, you know.
Just like people wanted to play in my setting, and I know Vel's you're working on your own setting, and you've got like a lot put into it already.
CT, Brandon wants you to say something in the chat so that way he can hug you.
Yeah.
Oh, let me see if I can pull that up real quick on my phone.
I have no idea if they're even in chat.
I then scroll down and I see rules pending on your page, and I'm like, there are no rules.
Yeah, I actually need to put in more work on that. That's me like
trust me, I feel you. I don't even have I have my about page set up, but I have like none of the other things situated yet because I've just not even bothered.
That's like my next thing.
I think when October comes around and I start doing some of the stuff that I'm planning on doing, I'll probably be updating a bunch of it.
Okay.
Which I've already told some people, but look out for October, guys. I'm planning on doing some fun little lore bits here and there. It'll be interesting.
Oh, nice. I'm keen on it, as you well know. Brendan. Nice. Okay.
Oh, can that just be a mask that he wears?
Just a
I just want that.
Oh,
yeah, I just want that as their mask.
That would be so dumb and awesome.
Introducing purge masks. Let's go.
Introducing purge masks. Let's do it.
This is how the lore evolves.
Absolutely, right?
Shenanigans.
Okay. Let me try and like remove that. Yeah. So I haven't talked about it yet, but like, if I can get like my stuff properly in order, like I'm probably gonna come like a-knocking. Oh, thank you, Brandon. Thank you for the hug.
All the time.
I'm probably gonna come like a-knocking like September-ish. I'll be like, okay, who wants to brave the awful shores of 40k with me because I really had a hankering to run a Dark Heresy campaign.
I did
If
40k like once, and I will do the same thing every time.
like if you're going to run a campaign for 40k,
An adventure, let's say. I don't know if it's gonna be like I don't know how long it's gonna be. Like it's gonna be like let's work on this adventure and then we may pick these characters
So-
back up again in the future.
so what really bothers me about 40k, and this is a side thing, like in terms of like doing adventures with it, it's really hard because the setting works really well for the war aspect, the idea of, you know, faction against faction for war stuff, but like individualized stories in Warhammer don't really work out very well. I mean, unless you're one of the, you know, Emperor's Chosen or whatever, you know, if you're like one of
It'd
the
be fine. I'm also I put this in the wrong category this whole time. I shouldn't have had this as art, even though we've been doing art.
I guess we are technically tabletop.
Well, no,
Yeah.
Twitch actually says under its thing, like if you're doing prep work or design work for a tabletop game, that is tabletop gaming.
Neat. But that's just me though, because I've tried doing 40k stuff before with people, and it always seems to not work. And the reason why is because, and it could also be the group in question, but a lot of the groups that I've been with expect to do the same thing they can kind of do in D&D, where they're like the hero of the, you know, whatever. And in 40k, you really can't be the hero.
Oh, you can try. I would invite you to try in my games. It will not end well for you.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is it like it's one of those things? It's like it just doesn't seem to work very well for single adventures. Like if you're gonna do like a war campaign,
No,
I
no,
could
no,
see-
no, 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 no.
I can see that
no.
working. But
Not at all. I would be doing this like a pitch black comedy.
well, I'd love to see it, but I don't know if it'll work. But that's just from me. In my experiences, not not saying that you can't do it. You probably could do it.
Because I don't strictly adhere to the lore of anything exactly, but like the idea is like 40k is the grimdarkiest of grimdark, and it's just this awful bureaucratic hellscape in the Imperium, and the story is mostly about you trying to survive working for the Imperium. Because the Imperium does not care if you live or die.
Oh no, and people who are in that campaign will find out real fast that not only can your character die, your character probably will die.
Well, again, I'm not out to necessarily kill characters immediately, but like if you do silly things,
Well, yeah.
I will.
Well, yeah, but like
I love doing silly things.
I'm just saying in a general concept that a lot of people will go in there thinking, oh, I'm not gonna die.
Whoa.
I never roll into a thing thinking I'm not gonna die. I fully expect to die everything I join. And then I just like easy, my goblin died like 3 times.
I don't know, I've just seen a lot of people who they roll up and they're like, I'm invincible, and then their character dies and then they get all upset about it. It's like,
Oh no, I'm not that person.
Oh yeah, no, I would definitely be setting some expectations going into it, right?
No, my character's gonna do what they're gonna do, but I fully expect things to happen because of that.
oh yeah. Well, that's why like people have told me, it's like, well, like, you know, aren't you gonna be upset if you're playing your orc character and your orc character dies? And I said, they're like, that just means that
They made poor
died
choices.
in this campaign. Like,
They're like, he can get used in a different one.
exactly. It means in this campaign his story came to an end. It happens.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Not either yet, but that's the thing for next week. I'm sorry, we got completely off topic, but
We are way off topic.
I'm considering I'm
We're having
legit
adventures.
exactly. And what is tabletop gaming about if not having adventures? God, your line work is so ridiculously good, Crazer. What the hell?
This is just scribbling.
I know. I I would do horrible things to people for that to be my just scribbling.
Hey, I think your scribbling is swell.
Do I need to open up paint.net and start scribbling?
Nah.
All the scribbles.
Actually, I don't even think I have my pad anymore. I used to have like a little drawing pad at one point. Little tablet thing.
What do we need
Oh,
to
there it
send you?
is. I still have it, but
Yay.
Nice.
it's one of those like, what is this? A bamboo?
Oh yeah,
Or
they're awful.
I mean, if it
yeah, that's
works.
awful.
I have a little Wacom Intios, and like I can't wait to ditch this thing.
I'm just rolling with my Genius Pen Sketch 9x12.
Oh, speaking of which, how do those drivers work out for you?
Have
Have you not
I don't.
installed them?
No, I did, but then I also had to reinstall like from the disk
Oh, snap.
because
Okay.
the computer got very angry, and I think ultimately
Computer
like what we were, because ultimately I think it did just come down to like what browser we were in for the Agio,
Okay.
because I did try it again after
Okay.
the driver and everything was happening. It was still just the browser.
Okay. So yeah, we were talking about this class in theory.
Yeah.
Insanity.
So let's talk about it in theory. Let's break it down. Let's break it down how most Pathfinder classes are built, and that way you can kind of set power levels.
That's the boring way of doing it.
Well, I was gonna say
Go
like,
ahead.
so with Pathfinder, one of the things that they do is that you have a power spike at 6, 12, and 18. And these are when you get like your big
Unless you're the summoner.
changes. Well, yeah. Unless you're a summoner, in which case, stop playing the game. No.
What are you serious?
Okay. If you're playing original summoner, stop playing the game. If you're playing
Why? Original summoner is rad.
original summoner is broken.
It is
It is
not.
So
However, no, easy, no. However, what I will agree is that it is broken until level 8 or 9. The problem with summoners, it comes online between levels 3 and like 6. Every other class starts coming online between like 6 and 10.
The problem is that people found ways to make it go past that point, and it's not a pretty sight.
Well,
I've
that's
seen source. Oh, go ahead.
GMs need to say no.
Well, okay. There are certain areas that you can say no. Like, for example, I can say no to summoner in my campaign. Okay, that's fair for my campaign. But say I did want to have summoner there, I could ban certain archetypes, which there are 2 archetypes that are big problem children.
Synthesis and what's the other one?
Synthesis. Synthesis is the one where you can like fuse with your guy, right?
Where you it's basically playing mech suit with your summon.
Okay, yeah. Synthesis is one of them, and then the other one was hold on. I've been playing Pathfinder 2e, and so Summoner got a rework, and it works so much better in 2e.
Again, I disagree. I don't think it works worse in 2e. I don't think it works worse.
I have to drag you into a 2e game at some point and like show you the wonders of 2e. I think that
please, like, I was talking about that with my sweetheart. And it's like I feel like I need to try 2e again to like get more in depth with it.
I have not tried 2e.
I would be honored to like do a game for you guys. Anybody who is interested, I would be more than willing to do.
Just gonna tell you up front, I need so much hand holding when it comes to sheets and mechanics.
So first and foremost, sheets are like going to be easy because there's a website that literally does all the work for you, and it is super easy to get through.
Are you talking about Nephis?
No.
Okay. Because Nephis is like a
2E.
labyrinth maze for me.
No, Path Builder 2e.
Okay.
I think I sent it to you last time, didn't I?
Mode? like last time we talked about this was on the other side of like a 48-hour dissociative episode. I do not have strong
That's
knowledge.
that's fair. Here, I'll send it to
God.
both y'all now. I'll send it to both y'all now. But this is it
Okay.
right here.
Okay,
But
I'll have to check it
yeah.
out later.
Yeah, when you pop on there, it literally breaks it down level by level what you get and stuff like that. And it's really cool. Aris actually has one that she likes, but I'm not remember. I can't remember what the website for that one is.
Brandon is jumping up and down at you.
I heard joining a campaign. Please let me join. Okay, Brandon. I wouldn't be against it. I mean, I would like to have 4 to 5 people max if possible. And we'd have to set a date and stuff like that. But I would be more than willing to run a campaign.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't even care if it was on stream, like I would just be into it.
right. Well, if we wanted to stream it, I wouldn't be against it. If we didn't want to stream it, that's cool. I'm one of those people that's like, whatever works situation.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'll have to do is like be careful with. I don't know. Do you think Twitch would get upset about fantasy racism?
So Twitch does not mind discussions or portrayals of racism in media, as long as it is clear that you are not like promoting a
Gotcha.
viewpoint of racism.
Gotcha.
So theoretically, it would fly.
Yeah.
Well, like I wouldn't be out here like hammering it or whatnot, but
No, but like just setting
there's not an uncommon appearance in where someone decides to say something like, "Hey, knife ears" or something like that.
I think.
Oh, that would absolutely
I think
fly.
that would
Like the
fly.
only thing that's like TOS is like they don't want to hear like real world slurs.
Oh no. That it doesn't matter, real life or otherwise. That doesn't have a place anywhere in my games. Like anybody who tries to go that distance, I'm like, you stop or you're gone. I think it's twinned.
What?
I think twinned summoner is the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is the synthesis one and the twinned summoner.
Yeah, I know Summoner is kind of banned from like Pathfinder Society, but like I feel like that's more because I feel like part of the problem is that
I
Pathfinder
don't know
Society
anything about the summoner.
is like focused on like super low levels, during which point the Summoner does have balance issues at super low levels.
Yeah, the reason why the twin summoner is a problem is because the twin summoner looks like the summoner in question, so they look identical. And the summon gets access to teamwork feats, so you can teamwork with yourself, which teamwork feats are very powerful, but you need somebody else in the group to basically say, hey, I'm going to teamwork with you.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Hunter can do that too.
What?
Hunter can do that too.
I don't think any of their pets can take teamwork feats.
Hunters can. Hunters can use their pets as not rangers, hunters. Different class.
Okay, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the hunters, unfortunately, because nobody in my group was really interested in anything from the not advanced players.
It is advanced players. I think you got it one right.
No, advanced class guide. That's what it was. Advanced class guide.
Okay.
Yeah, the only exception to that was like somebody was interested in playing Swashbuckler once, and then someone wanted to play Brawler, but they had like no interest. They had like no interest in any of the other ones.
Okay.
Oh dear.
Yeah, where's that coming from?
I have no idea. It just shows up every now and then.
What?
There's like a noise that happens. It kind of sounds like an NES like
might be
sound.
me.
Okay.
Like if I mute myself and it goes away, it's me.
It's not constant. It's very kind of random.
Constant. Yeah,
so
it happens every now and then.
Yeah, don't mute yourself. Anyway, this class that we're talking about.
Yeah, back to the class. Anyway.
Mothy!
So,
hello, Mothy.
Moth.
We,
Moth.
how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I'm not going to say too much since we're trying desperately to get back on topic here.
Yes.
What's topic?
So let's go ahead and discuss the class first in world setting. So I need you to give me.
What do you need caught up on? What did we cover?
So let's just go ahead. You know what? Give me a quick rundown of everything. Like a quick rundown of how you joined them. A quick rundown of what power access do they get. And then what is their like? Do they have a code that they follow, or
they probably have a code because a good number of them follow a belief system with the who's kind of like a deity of the downtrodden and disease.
Oh, so the leopard thing totally works.
Yeah, because that's why he's got the bandages and stuff. Like any illnesses and just poverty and struggle life stuff and all that. But there was also on the little bit of lighter side of that following, it would also be the kind of like the community that ends up building up around when everybody's got those struggles. They kind of end up supporting each other in a way. But obviously you got a lot of the crowd that are disgruntled, so you get folks that might want to join the Cloak and Dagger Club, as it were. There are some natives that joined because, again, just disgruntled. They don't like the folks that moved in and built this metropolis. You would probably initially join it through doing more basic thief work and probably some information gathering before necessarily getting assigned to actually go do hit jobs or anything.
Okay, so it'd be one of those things that anybody who takes this class would be born into the society and then end up in this class, like assigned wise.
At least in this locale, because we're mostly focusing on this locale because it's the only one that I have roughly fleshed out.
Okay.
And this is just one of the settlements on this island, but it is the biggest settlement. It's the metropolis, and that's the next biggest is the port city, Taddingport. Yeah, Taddingport.
That's cool. I'm trying to make sure I get the name because I hadn't heard it before.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so there's no way for you to join later on, or is it just...
You could probably join later on, but you would... I feel like you would want to already have stealth-inclined characters to really have...
Right.
Yeah. The idea was to make the class progression...
And story-wise, you would probably have a really hard time joining if you were anything middle to upper class, just by nature.
Yeah, the idea progression-wise was to make it so that, as you progressed in the class, you start off with much more mundane abilities and then gained some more of the magical ones over time.
Again, I apologize.
Okay. I think that might be from her mic.
Yeah, my sound card goes out every now and then.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
It's actually been behaving the last 2 years. But I'll be right back.
Okay.
Ponder those things.
Yes, and I can provide some more details, because I know some of them. I'm not... I can't take over.
Yeah, I know,
exactly,
but I know you kind of remember what we went over, so you can kind of catching up on what you recall from that, and if we want to super clarify when I get back, we can do that.
And
Alright.
that's
So I understand the design of the class and stuff like that. The
yeah.
only other question I'd have is if the class is leaning more divine magical or arcane magical.
There aren't those separations.
Okay.
So you can't use those in like the world setting, unfortunately.
Okay.
The current way it is like, because we talked about it, we started getting places with it. It was sneak attack, poison abilities, some mundane, some magical, some shadow walking, and then a very limited access to a small selection of um, spheres of power for their casting. Because most spheres of power casters can like unlock like a bunch of them. And we were thinking for this like just 6 of them. Like you can choose basically the like it's kind of like the equivalent of like having like maybe like I don't know, like 10-ish spells at your disposal. But they're not good equivalents. That hurt us so far before you came on is like we're thinking like sneak attack. Rogues are what, like 10d6 at the top range?
Top
No.
it's 10d6, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking like
Because I think they get it every 2 levels after first level.
Right, and I was thinking like cap them at like 6, 7-ish d6 at the top range. Shrouds.
Well, what I'm thinking, because from what I'm hearing and what I've heard so far, is they definitely use poison. Poison is a big use. They have some shadow dancing kind of powers, or shadow dancing abilities of some sort, and they pull from a magic source over time. Correct? Like they get more magic as things go on.
So a good way to think of like the spheres of power magic is
Yeah, because I need more context specifically on spheres of power, I guess. Because I'm looking over the system, and I've looked over it before because, like I said, Roddy offered me to look at it, and it's something that I was going to look into, but I haven't had the ability to do so. And then I asked a big D&D server about it to kind of get an idea for it, and what I got was I wouldn't recommend using the Spheres of Power books, and the reason why is because things tend to get way out of balance, is what they told me. Which,
if you're concerned about like numerical balance, they're probably not a great idea.
Well, no. My thing is that like, do what you want to do. I was asking them for information about it, but instead what I got was, oh, don't take that system because this, and it was like, thanks,
but that's not the actual question at hand. Yeah,
basically the question was, okay, what can I how can I expect this? You know, how does it work?
So the idea of spheres of power is that each, rather than having like different types of magic or different, think of like schools, like only instead of each school, there's like a bunch of different schools, and they all do a thing along a theme. And you have like, I think it's like 7 or 8, maybe 9, might be 9 different abilities within that sphere, and you can take the abilities within that sphere and you can basically chain together abilities to make complicated effects. Like there's a sphere that's like for like motion and or like teleport like for movement, and you can take like teleport from that and then like teleport from that and then like say like this one that's about like duplication, and you can create like
let me ask the basis question here.
Yeah.
Because this is what really matters. The basis of question for the spheres of power system basically is this: how many spheres of power can you choose to take? And
Depends on class.
okay, so how many spheres of power can you choose to take, which is one of the big ones. The
So-
second question is, how do you determine which powers one gets? Is it separated by level? Is it separated by you buy into it? Like, do you have a certain amount of points to get to buy into it?
So it's a mixture of, you get choices based on level and based on what you already know, and then you can purchase modifiers for what you already know to do different stuff with it.
Okay.
So, did you ever play 3.5 spell epic level spell seeds?
No, unfortunately not. I barely got, like, I got started in 3.5. That was where I started, and I understood enough about 3.5 to get me in trouble because of the combination of Neverwinter Nights, which was 3.0, not 3.5,
Yeah.
and
NWN2 is 3.5.
yeah. But between that and a few campaigns that I got to play in, and then the one book that I owned, which was the Dungeon Master's Guide,
Okay.
I understood the basics of 3.5 to its fullest.
1 second. I'm gonna
But
pop
that's
out
as far
and
as
pop
I'd
back
gone.
in because I suddenly lost the ability to hear you. It's so
Oh
weird.
no. Okay,
Uh-oh.
well, we'll see you again in a moment. Mr. NG with a, is it a salute? I don't understand that, but hello
That's a
and
wave.
welcome.
Hi.
Oh, that's a wave.
Okay,
Yeah,
I can hear
because it's
you.
got the head and it's got the hand up, so it's like that.
Yeah.
A salute would be the 7,
Ah, okay.
because it would look like this. Because it'd be like, ta-da.
Ah,
Yes.
okay. I am Champion Smooth Brain. Cradler, can you hear us?
Not at all.
Yeah, I can.
Yes. Mr. NG, welcome. Hopefully you're having a good time. We are discussing, talking, and like designing a custom class for a campaign setting that is Cradler's campaign setting. Can barely hear CT, by the way.
Say something, CT?
Hello.
Yeah, you are a little quiet. Let me boost you guys a little bit.
Maybe I killed it by popping out and coming back in.
Yeah, I think I got you. Yeah, awesome. Then you come to the right place. You get to hear three artist nerds arguing for one of their settings.
I know nothing. I'm just like, yeah, that sounds cool.
Excuse me, I don't do art. What I do is beyond art. It is an experience that one must take. I can't even continue making that joke.
I think you need a glass of
Stop.
smug for that.
I know, right? Mr. MG, I'm so happy that you love doing stupid stuff like that. It's something that I love doing myself. And I plan to do more of stuff like that. And if you're into that kind of thing, I'd love to see you around the hive someday.
God,
Yellow
Moth. That statement right there, like, I think I brought it up in our Borderlands 2's playthrough or whatnot, but there's a video somewhere on the internet. There's a scientist who's like explaining like a very complicated thing. He's like, yes, see here, the sun is coming in, and when the sun does this, it creates a chain reaction. And then suddenly there's this dude who shows up in a wizard costume and goes, Shut it, nerd!
Mr. MG, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and unfortunately I can't find that video no more. Sorry.
Oh. And it's okay, Mr. MG. I'm no expert in art here, as you can probably tell. Cradler is probably the best one at the arts in this stream. I'm here for the world building and the expertise.
I don't know. I would actually love to like compare my drawings with Cradler's drawings. The problem is that I'm a traditional artist.
Yeah.
Except for when it comes to pixel art.
I can break out the pencils.
Give us a zoom out.
Break out pencils.
Give us a zoom out of your thing.
Zoom out.
Yeah, CT, we'll have to like compare compare and contrast one day.
That you made to make it to a mask. Like, he's so good. So, like,
I still have no idea what he's
yeah.
doing.
Thing. Obviously, he's vamping for the camera.
Yes.
Well, it's clear that he's got a knuckle dagger.
Yeah, knuckle knife thing. I don't know what I was doing. I was just like, I need to give him something. I don't want to be asked to draw like a normal knife right now. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, whereas
Dagger's fine.
I gave her like this weird like ceremonial dagger to kind of like tie into some of the more like religious concepts behind them. We're working in a class it's called the Shroud, and we're trying to get through like the stuff. Mo,
Hey,
you
Mr.
had,
MG,
yeah.
don't worry about not being able to draw anything. That just means that your talent is somewhere else, and you probably completely beat us at whatever your talent is.
Yeah.
Maybe you make great music, because God knows I can't make music.
I,
You want to hear me drop a beat real fast? Watch this. Never mind. I give up. I'm done.
I produce something that is vaguely akin to music. Mr. G says that his. I assume because you have a mister that you are going with he/him. If I'm wrong, let me know. I don't mean any offense. He says his talent is being autistic. That is a mood right there.
That's a mood.
I can't speak for Mode, but neither myself nor Cradler are neuronormative. Yeah, neither of us are neuronormative.
As far as I have been told, I am neuronormative. That being said, I was too poor to get checked. To be honest. So I don't know what I have.
Okay.
Yeah, neurotypical.
Like, okay,
Typical.
sure.
Like, I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure I have ADHD at least. At very, very least, I have ADHD. And I definitely have OCD.
If you ever get the chance to get checked, it doesn't necessarily always be like this world-changing thing, but it is nice to like have a confirmation so that you're not just like, I might be.
Yeah.
Should go see the doctor.
I need to put like the neurodivergent tag on here if it's like 4 people who are neurodivergent.
Go
I should. Because Cradler, you're what the hell do they call it these days? Because it's not autistic anymore. It's.
I mean, it's still autistic, but they put it all under a spectrum. So it's autistic spectrum disorder or something like that.
Yeah.
To be honest, from what I was viewing when I was taking psychology classes, there's a high chance that like 99% of the people that you know have some form of autism. It just isn't diagnosed or otherwise.
Posture check and stretch. Okay, my posture is actually okay for once.
I refuse to change my posture. You can't
Brandon,
Brandon,
I got bad news for you, okay? I'm gonna tell you how my posture is right now. I am leaned back in my chair. My butt is at like the far edge of my seat as my back kind of curls
Easy, no.
up into it.
Easy, no. That's the shrimp posture.
I've got my leg up on a desk right now, and the other one's on a laundry basket, and I am comfy.
Sir, unshrimp yourself right now.
I am comfy. Ain't nobody stopping this.
God, I've got to get a Reese closer to you. Only if I can like get her to change this. Thank you so much.
Okay. I am technically overstating it. My butt isn't at the edge of the seat. It's like mid seat, but still.
This is you right now.
That's amazing. Easy trim. Your setup is bad. I wish my setup was bad.
Oh.
The easy shrimp.
Hold on.
That sounded super sudden. Okay.
I need to get a picture real fast. I'm gonna do my own little bit of art here real fast.
Okay. I have no idea how to upload it or how to display it, so we'll figure that out later. But like, when was Asperger's syndrome?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's technically what my diagnosis was, but Asperger's
So-
is not recognized anymore. It is considered part of it. It's just all ASD.
I mean, sure.
And
I'm
I know
sure
a
this
lot of
is
people don't even want to use the Asperger's name anymore because of the dude that's associated with that name.
Oh, dang.
I just like
I
saying Asperger's.
I have no idea about any of that, but it's like, I don't even want to know about it.
Yeah, apparently it was kind of scummy.
And why am I not surprised somehow?
It's just like what I expect for humanity, so like I'm just whatever, man.
Okay, yeah.
Humans are bad.
Might help if I
humans are
change back to the
bad.
pencil. It was great getting diagnosed for me. We pretty much like were there and we were waiting, and the dude walked in and was like, "Yep, you got it," and I was like, "Cool, bye."
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
See, what's really that sounds exactly like how I found out I had COVID.
Oh,
Like
okay.
when I got COVID, like the first thing that happened was like I went in there and he's like, "So coming in for a COVID test?" I was like, "Yeah." Me and my mom were, we've coughing a lot lately. We're a little worried about it. He's like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw your mom. Well, good. I got some good news and I got some bad news." It's like, "Okay, what's the good news?" It's like, well, I can probably confirm that you have it." And I'm like, "How is that good news?" "Okay, what's the bad news?" "Well, bad news is your mom already tested positive for it. So, here we go."
Oh, wow.
Oh
Okay.
boy!
Here we go again.
And then he just stuffs the thing in my nose, and I'm like, It's the worst. It's the worst. You don't want to get the COVID test if you can prevent it.
Gamer moment right there. Okay, but yeah. Class. I swear, class.
Class.
Yeah, you're asking questions.
Who here has class? Anyway.
Oh, this the way it
Extend
works
the pinky.
is like, yeah, is like
I'm drinking
it's
with
by
the pinky
class,
out.
but it's like you take these components of like spells and you basically spend magic points to create a spell in real time. Basically, is how it works.
Okay. It doesn't sound that complex, but what I need,
I think it was more
basically
like
what
the
I
other
need,
stuff, but
what I
So
basically need to know for sure is this: is basically if I were to sit down with somebody who has never played the game ever, and they've only played the basics of Pathfinder 1E, right? But I told them, "Hey, we're playing with this system." How do I explain to them how they get their selections and stuff like that? Like,
so two things real quick. Mr. MG, we were talking about Pathfinder 1 using the spheres of power for Cradler's setting. For my setting, which will be next week, it's nominally 2E compliant. Let's say that.
See?
I'll go into more detail.
see, I am the 2E person. I am the the one who
I hope I
knocks.
don't make you cry. I really do. That's my biggest hope. And second is, Brandon, me and Melody talked about this. I'm not allowed to install cybernetics into their corporeal being. So I can't, like, I don't, my hands are tied, clearly. Sorry, Mo, pretend you, so anyway, let's continue.
Hold on. I have art to share.
Okay, how are you gonna share it?
Select all, edit, copy. And I'm gonna paste it in our little group chat we got real fast.
Okay.
Yes!
Comfy me.
Beautiful.
That's excellent.
And then I'm gonna share it to everybody in chat by taking the link and doing this
Okay.
motion.
Fun
There you go,
fact, all
everybody.
2nd edition players love it when you repeatedly kick their shins. Do they need help? It is 2nd edition Pathfinder, not D&D.
Yeah, 2nd edition Pathfinder, not 2nd edition D&D. Second edition D&D is, the worst. I have had friends upon friends explain to me why second edition is the best system, and every single time they open their mouths to tell me it, I immediately go, "Why do you like this?"
Yeah, like I'm not.
They start explaining.
I don't know that I'm so against this as you are, Mode, but I do find it interesting. Oh,
Well,
your
then they start
shoes are
talking
so
about.
good.
They then
Your
start
shoes so
talking about.
good.
I was just thinking about like, what do I do for a shoe? And I was like, oh yeah, there's like this style of shoe that like SCA people do, and you just pull the button over.
Oh, why are your shoes so
The
good?
like turn shoe, which I keep meaning to make a pair, but I don't.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, Mode. Did that answer your question? I don't know that it did.
I don't remember.
I honestly don't remember what you were exactly saying anymore. But like, okay, so what I'm basically asking for.
Yeah.
If I put Spheres of Power as an ability
I'm sorry.
the class gets, right?
Yeah.
Do I then say, okay, pick a Sphere of Power out of these options, you get the associated level class thing with it? Or is it one of those things that's like, you get all three of them, and then you can just kind of dip and dive however you feel like?
It's the former.
I believe it is the former.
So you pick one.
You pick a.
Yes, you pick
A Sphere of Power. Okay.
Unless you're doing really crazy things.
So yeah, either you unlock a new sphere and get like the first thing for that sphere, or you pick another power from a sphere you already have, or a modifying power that you can use on your spheres. That is my understanding.
Mr. MG, imagine using XP in order to craft items.
I actually kind of missed that. Imagine your XP being based on what? Your experience is based on gold earned? That's insane.
Mm-hmm. But going back to it. Okay, so in that case, I would have it like this. Here's a basic setup of how the class would work, basically. 1 to 6. Actually, no, that'd be too far. 1 to 4. 1 to 4 kind of works like a basic rogue. You're going to get your sneak attack bonus at this level. You're going to get your proficiencies that you would normally get at first level. And then you'd have things that would start leaning into the Sphere of Power.
Go ahead. We were thinking less than that because they were supposed to have like a touch of magic.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of things in my setting are going to bleed into each other. So, like, the mages in this metropolis are battle mages. They have to be able to use weapons as well as magic.
Okay, well, in that case, what I would do is I would say, alright, so for the Sphere of... When you get to the Sphere of Power part of the class, have them pick a Sphere of Power, but put limits on the Sphere of Power. For example, put, like...
Actually, the way we were doing it is that...
Yeah. They were supposed to get, like, shadow steppy stuff at some...
Yeah, at 6th level, you get 2 sphere choices, and then 1 sphere choice every 4 levels after that, for a relatively small number that you could either, like... You could either be narrowly focused and, like, good with this certain kind of thing, or you could have, like, different things. Yeah. As Mr. MG said, spheres aren't Vancian spells. You can't treat them that way, unfortunately.
And that's fine. I hate Spheres of Power already, and I haven't even played the system yet.
I actually really like it conceptually.
I don't know what I'm doing with it, but I'm used to it.
Conceptually, it can be fine. The problem is that having the conception of how something works and having how it actually works are two very different things. And I need someone like to fully like sit down with me and be like, all right, so you got this sphere, this sphere, this sphere. This is how you choose your spheres and stuff like that. Because this is going to be all over the place for me. Because, like, as Mr. MG says, in terms of the ideas of the Vancian spells, I can kind of understand how that works in 5th edition and stuff like that. It's not my favorite magic system. I have
you can explain
many issues with it.
Yeah, you can absolutely like I'll try to do some, and I'm not the most familiar with it myself. Like I'm
looking over the Wikipedia right now.
Wrong to it.
Yeah, I'm looking over the Wikipedia right now, and what I'm trying to figure out is little things like.
How do I do this?
Like,
there we go. Okay.
Also open to, like, I guess, other forms. I just, from what I've been exposed to, spheres is what I know has been working for the little we've done for it.
And the thing is, if it works for your campaign, then do it. I just unfortunately can't add too much to it besides saying do it, because I can't give you pointers on it because I have no idea how to work it. I'm looking at what I'm looking at on.
I just know it's more freeform, which is what the world setting kind of requires.
And I've seen freeform, like I've actually got a freeform magic system in mind that needs a little bit of work, but it is definitely something that I'm working on. It's keyword based, but
yeah, spheres is like I like the idea of spheres, but I'm not the hugest fan of it. But like, it works. It's very strange, as Mr. G said. Like I was thinking, like maybe not even like ultimately they could be able to select from. They could either select from like I think 6 spheres and like have no sphere talents, or they could have like 3 spheres and 3 sphere talents. I think was the concept we came up with before.
That is
where you're joining very limited magic.
Okay. That doesn't sound like limited magic. That sounds like it's a lot of magic that people are getting. That's why I'm trying to quantify it, and I'm not getting the quantification that I need for it. So that's the reason I'm like kind of falling off a little here.
Yeah, Mr. G, you're absolutely right about that.
So let me ask this question. A wizard using spheres of power. Okay.
Wizards get like I think 12 spheres and like a bunch of.
Okay, so they get 12 spheres, and then they get all of the talents inside of those spheres, or do they only get set ones?
They can select which ones they have. They don't get set. Okay. Almost nothing is like you get this thing from this sphere.
Okay. How do they select it? Is it just they select it, period, or is there like a you buy into it system?
It's more like you buy into it. Like some.
Okay, so do you get like points that go towards each thing, or is it just a 1-for-1 situation?
More like 1-for-1, but it's like certain things require you to be certain levels and that kind of stuff.
Okay, last thing I need to know. Can you swap them out? At any time?
Some classes can't. Not at any time, no. Think like the sorcerer where they can swap out spells that they know. It's usually more like that.
Can they swap out talents that they have, or is that something they have to do on a level up or otherwise?
Usually it's more sorcerer. Like, I think there's a class that can swap around talents, like, per day, but, like...
Okay, I have a better idea of what I'm working with here.
Your guy's like a vicious little guy, isn't he?
I'm just winging it.
Yeah, Monty loves his face, by the way.
Yay! Because of easy mode, that's now going to be an assassin mask that he just has.
Love it. Like, I saw that and I was like, keep that as a mask, please.
Mr. MG says that you get a number of talents from a sphere casting class equal to a scaling 1 to 10, 1 to 15, or 1 to 20 basis depending on their high, mid, or low casters, with additional 2 at start. These talents can be used to purchase spheres themselves, or sphere talents, which are stuff that let you do different stuff with that kind of energy.
Okay, so in that case, what y'all are proposing is already a system in the game. Y'all would want to just make them low casters.
No. We want them actually below, like, low casters even.
Okay.
Because,
well, then if you go below low caster, what I would recommend doing is simply. So.
Go for it.
Here's how I would do it then. To keep with the balance of what's going on here, if you want to have below a low caster, you would make it to where instead of doing 1/2 progression, it would do 1/4 progression. And basically what that is that you would get your first caster orb at first level, and then your second caster talent wouldn't show up until like 8th level, and then from there, once you hit 20th level is when you'll get your 5. And then those talent points can be used to either select an orb, because it sounds like the talents are what's used to select an orb or select a talent.
Oh,
So
that's how I do it. Okay.
So if that's how you wanted to do it, what I would do is it'd be 4th level, 1 talent selects an orb. At 8th level, you can choose to take another orb or take a talent in that orb. And then at 12th level, you can select another orb or a talent in the orbs that you have. And then just go down to level 20. That means there's only 5 talent points that they would get, which would make them extremely low casters.
Spirit talents augment or add new abilities from the base sphere package. Yeah. And yeah, that's kind of the idea, because they also get some poison stuff and some shadow stuff.
So poison stuff can be easily lifted from Alchemist. You literally just need to take everything that they have to do with poison and just throw it onto their character.
Some of them. We actually weren't planning to do that. I guess part of the problem is I don't usually create classes that way. So, like, the way I think about it is, like, I'm having a hard time rocking to, like, how you're approaching it.
Well, so the way that I approach class building is that I want it to be balanced with other classes and stuff like that, or balanced for the setting in question. I balance out classes while building them, and the way that I do that is I compare and contrast with other classes. So if there's a feature like poison use, for example, poison use is already a thing with Alchemist at 2nd level. So you could just literally lift the poison use ability from them at 2nd level and place it on the rogue class that you are building. Like, it can be put verbatim. What's that?
The Shroud.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. Fine. I'm being silly.
No, you're good. I just was afraid that I'd like upset somebody.
Oh no, not even a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, what Alchemist gets at 2nd level is they get poison use, and then they also get poison resistance. And what happens is that at 2nd level they get +2 to their saves against bonus, and then every 3 levels it goes up by another +2 up until level 10, and where they become absolutely immune to poison.
Did you want them immune to poison, Crazy?
I mean, it'd probably be wise for them to do that at some point.
Yeah. So what I would recommend is just you can lift that wholesale from Alchemist and apply it to the class.
Okay, like the other thing is like we wanted apparently we've upset Brandon. I'm sorry you upset Brandon. I have no idea what we did.
Oh.
Oh, it might be what I said about upsetting somebody and he's being funny.
Oh, that.
Or I actually did upset him. In which case, Brandon, if I have upset you, you are free to refund any and all bits that you have given me.
Yeah, let us know. But one thing we were thinking of was the ability for them to use apply poisons first as a swift action, and then for them to have the ability to, as like a supernatural, apply poison, any poison on them to one of their weapons, like once a round.
Okay. So, this also applies to the alchemist thing. They also have what's called swift poisoning.
Okay, cool.
At 6th level, an alchemist can apply a dose of poison to a weapon as a swift action. Now, if you don't like it at 6th level, you want to make it lower than that, you can do that.
Oh, that's actually a really good idea. Like,
You
Mr.
just wouldn't
G
give
came up
them.
with a good idea.
What did Mr. G say?
Hang on. So first, Brandon said the reason he's upset is because of your posture.
Well, I mean, I have moved since then, but I'll tell you right now, sooner or later, my posture is going to go back to the shrimp, and there's not a thing you can do about it. I'm sorry, my man.
I actually have to like fight with myself to not do that all the time.
I'm a creature of habit, and like there are certain things that I have dealt with, and I have just accepted that they are the norm.
I'm an artist with natural weights. That is my excuse.
Yeah, I'm shelving it on this desk right now.
Oh yeah. I can already get incoming posture. Okay. What's it? Mr. MG said
I'm
at
just
first
saying.
level, select a single magic sphere. Gain that sphere as a bonus talent, and then gain a single talent from that sphere. At 4th level and every 4 levels thereafter, you may select an additional talent from that sphere to gain as a bonus talent. Additionally, you can gain a number of spell points equal to half your class level. Treat 3/4 of your class level is in the chosen sphere.
Yeah, I mean, that would work.
That sounds pretty solid.
If it makes sense to you guys.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense to me ever, but I'll say okay.
But it also depends on where you want it, because if you're not wanting them to get it at 1st level and you want them to get the magic later on, you could always adjust it.
Brandon just redeemed 3 posture checks everywhere.
Oh no!
I have fixed mine. I've gone back to sitting the way you're supposed to sit.
Alright, so Brandon said a posture check, right? Hold on. Let me get my leg behind my head
Here's
real fast.
Here's my posture check. I am definitely shelved. There is support. It's been checked.
Oh my god.
Okay. So,
okay,
I'm not gonna lie.
No, you can laugh.
I'm not gonna lie, like, part of me doesn't want to be fat anymore, but at the same time, I'm really going to miss my drink rest.
You know what? That's fair.
That's fair. You know what? I can't even at you about that, right?
That's fair as hell.
I'm gonna post that on Twitter like later tonight. I'm gonna be like, man,
giant mood.
I feel like so many people will relate.
I know. Hang on. Oh, what? Cradler. What?
Brennan,
what,
just for you. My posture has been checked. It is straight. It will not stay that way. But it is straight for right now.
What kind of ethnicity are these like people?
Blue.
Like are they darker? Are they lighter? Like what?
So the natives are darker toned. The settler folks are lighter toned.
Any idea of like undertones? Like are they gold, red, olive?
Probably lots of. Probably like some red and goldish undertones, maybe.
Okay, cool.
I'll say when you are done.
Okay, we are good.
There's probably definitely lots of olive tone people around. Like I said, the Rookwall is kind of a melting pot.
I thought we were good. I was wrong.
You're good. No, what I was going to say is, y'all said you were talking about like origin, ethnicity, or whatever, and so there's. Have y'all ever read the Wheel of Time series of books, or know of the Wheel of Time series of books?
Oh, I was a child.
Someone recommended that
Someone
to me.
read them to me.
Yeah, I have been recommended it several times by Cinco. Apparently he says that it's really good if you completely forget about the guy being kind of sexist in areas.
I mean,
But it is really good.
I had someone recommend that to me. I lost a friend later on because, like, that was not because of that, but like, but like.
Did you lose a friend over anime recommendations too?
No, but like I did absolutely like. So the person who recommended me Wheel of Time did lose my respect for it being one of their favorite books ever because of how it treats women.
Yep. That's basically what Senko has said. Senko says that the author who took over did a much better job, and the way that it is portrayed in the live action series is much better than it was in the books, and he says that that's how it should have been from the get-go.
So basically, in the books,
what it is,
canonically, like, and I am oversimplifying here, right? But like, women spellcasters, kinda evil. Also, they can't do they can't do powerful magic. Only men can do powerful magic.
Yeah, but powerful magic is considered evil in this world for reasons, because things and whatever.
Yeah.
I gave up trying to understand the Wheel of Time, but anyway, the reason why I bring this up is because I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like go off on the there. The reason why I brought it up was because Sinky wanted to run a one-shot campaign, and it turns out Wheel of Time actually released a 3.5 edition D&D book. So you can actually play in the Wheel of Time series with this book. Well, in the book, it has a list of the ethnicities that you can play, and on each of them, it has like a little thing telling you, compare it to this ethnicity, basically.
Yeah.
One of them is, in Sinky's words, some dastardly evil people, right? That are like almost always evil. But when you read them in the book, they literally are described as think Texan.
That's amazing.
And I'm sitting here as a Texan going, huh.
Excellent.
I don't know about this, champ.
Okay, so like a lot of the Texans that I've met online, you included, seem pretty decent, right? But like the impression of Texans that you get over the internet, I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you. He said that Texas is a living hell as someone who lives there.
Oh, I don't
I've
like
never
Texas.
personally been down to your hell planet. I've only piloted drones down there, but it doesn't seem great.
I was actually surprised that the Cadillacs getting right of way was a true thing.
Wait,
I saw it. Yeah, so in Texas, the largest vehicle on the road has the right of way unless there's a Cadillac. The Cadillac always gets a right of way. I witnessed that and I lost my mind. I don't know if it's changed since then, but it was like that when I went there.
Okay.
Also, the roaches were enormous, like
Hold
the
on.
size of the huge serving spoons that just crawl up to you and are like, sup.
This happened within the last 30 minutes. Oh my god.
What?
What?
Sorry. Technically in the politics area. I'll post it in the chat so you guys are aware of what's happened. But
Okay. Yeah.
No.
Oh, crap.
yeah, Citrus posted that, and I'm kind of like, what? What's going on?
Holy, okay.
Ooh. That's a thing.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, that's not a small thing.
That is a thing.
Yeah, it's all over Twitter too. Anyway, sorry
If you're
guys.
like 90 plus
We're
degree,
off.
We're well off topic.
Yeah, we're well off topic. Let's go back to what we were talking about.
Yeah, how do you get a back? Sorry.
Okay. I'll try and help.
So
I've been
here's
working on the design.
So here's what I'm going to do for character stuff. Mr. MG is 100% right in certain areas. about talking about. We should, if we're going to design the class, we need to break it down from the basics, and that is first and foremost, what kind of base attack bonuses is this going to have? Is it going to have a high, a middle, or a low?
I think it probably needs to have, like...
I'm assuming middle, because that's what rogues usually are. Rogues are usually in that middle area.
So definitely middle then.
Okay, so middle means that it gets a max VAB of 15 at 20th level, 0 starting.
That sounds about right. Middle VAB,
so
sneak attack.
Yeah, because what I can do is I can send you the BAB list if you're. I'm not sure. Are you taking notes on this or?
We have bots. I know Cradler plans to go and like copy down all the notes.
Okay. So we got middle attack bonus. Next question would be fort save, reflex save, will save. What are they good at? What are they bad at?
My guess is like with like the religious ties and all that stuff. I'd probably guess like Dex and Will maybe.
Well, with the fort save with being poison, I mean we could make fort save low and then just make the poison resistance kind of balance it out.
That's my thought actually. Like.
Okay, we'll do that then. So we'll have reflex and will be the good saves, with fortitude being the bad save.
Oh, thank you, Brandon.
Which means that fort and reflex will be at 12 at max level. Will save or fort save will only be at 6.
Yeah, knowing the world they're in, fort and will is their good saves is what Mr. G would say. That makes sense to me too.
Yeah. So since we've got that situated, we can now discuss, like you said, class features. So if we're going to go into class features, we've already discussed that there's going to be the spheres of power. So the question basically becomes, the question about the spheres of power is it being given at first level or given at a later level? Because
so we were gonna do later levels to represent the fact that like you start out in like this as like kind of a more, they start you out with like mundane training and stuff like that, and they give you magic like later. Like I like Mr. G's progression a lot. Again, thank you, Mr. G. But Mr. MG.
Yes. And I think Mr. MG has a very good point. Like Mr. MG does have a very good solid setup. I would
just crunch the front end of that a little bit to get them started at like 4th level or 6th level. But I would keep like the actual like curve and power that he's recommended.
Right. The problem is that if you move it to 4th level, you have to then readjust the back end of it too. And the way that I would do that to readjust it would be at 6th, 8th, and then every 4 levels after.
Yeah, probably. Like first to
that way you still get the same amount of talents that's being offered in that situation.
Yeah.
Because you get one at 4th level, you get the first one at 4th level, the second one at 6th level, then the third one at 8th level, and then every 4 levels after that, get the other ones.
Yeah. I would probably have done like 6th and 8th because I'm like that.
That's what I said, 6th and 8th.
Yeah. And then
every 4 levels after that.
Yeah, that crunches it and down and sets it on that same like every 4 level schema. But it also makes it so like anyone who just takes like 5 levels in this, you're not getting magical training from this.
Right. Well, if you take 5 levels in it, you'll get the first magical sphere, but you won't get anything else.
Wouldn't that happen at 6?
No, the first. If you're okay, so are you gonna push it to 6th level?
That was what I was thinking. But like
Okay, in that case, so
I don't know if that like
hold on
works.
If we're doing it 6th level, then we'd have to adjust it, which is adjustable from there. Because let's see, hold on.
Mrs. G
it'd probably be
for paladin casting is 1 through 10. Okay.
Right. So hold on, 6.
They get some
6th, 9th,
stronger extra stuff
12th,
currently.
15th, 18th. Okay, that works. Hold on.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so instead of getting 6 talents, you'd only get 5, but if it was at 6th level, gain a single magic sphere that does the thing, and then at
Mr. MG
eighth?
really recommends selling it 4th and gaining bonuses at 6th, 8th, 12th, etc.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too,
Okay.
but since 6 was adjusted, I was going to say you could technically do 6th, 8th, and then every 3 levels thereafter.
I don't think 4th would necessarily be the worst thing. I'd want to know from Cradler.
Yeah. If Cradler wants to go 4th, then go 4th. If Cradler wants to go 6th, then go 6th. And you would just adjust it to be 4th level with 6th level, and then every 4 levels afterwards. Or 6, 8, every 4 levels afterwards. Or, if you wanted to adjust it to where it was 6th level, it would be 6th, 8th, and then every 3 levels after that. And that would balance out to the same amount of points.
Okay. I gotta work on getting some brushes and stuff. It's getting late. Night, everyone. Good night, Wilhelm. Sleep well.
Of the home's going to bed.
Yeah. I can't blame him. We'll probably be stopping for too much longer. Just do. Okay. Yeah. Should have made another palette to work from, but it's fine. So yeah.
What are pallets?
Right? Welcome back, Cradler. Yeah,
Cradler.
How do you feel about them getting spellcasting at 4th?
Do you want 4th or 6th, basically, is the question.
Probably 4th.
4th?
Honestly.
Okay.
Just because I know a lot of players get really impatient waiting any longer than that for things.
Okay, so what we're thinking about doing it is doing it at 4th level, and then at 4th level you get your first talent. At 6th level you get another talent. 8th level you get a talent, and then every 4 levels after that you get your other talents. For a total of 6 total talents at the end, I believe. The first talent's used on a sphere, and then you get 5 talents after that, basically, to use on spheres, or is it just... No, okay, it just says that you can get a talent from that sphere. Okay. So yeah, you still just get talents from that sphere. But yeah. Okay. We've also determined that they would have a mid BAB. A good reflex and will save with a bad fort save.
If that sounds good to you.
I guess because, like, forts mostly, like, somebody fucking decks them.
Mm-hmm. And then here's how I do the abilities from here. First level, they would get sneak attack. Second level, they would get poison use. And then sneak attack would, instead of going up every 2 levels, would go up every 3 levels.
Yeah, that's almost exactly what I was thinking there.
First level, 4th level, 7th level, 10th level, 13th level, 16th, and then 19th. That gives them out 7, if I do that right. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7d6 at 19th level. So they don't have full rogue sneaky damage, but they do have a decent amount. Because rogue gets it every other level, right? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So first level would be sneak attack, and then some extra abilities that would be covenant to that class. So
Yes.
we can talk about that here in a second. Second level would be poison use, poison resistance. Third level would be... Do y'all want to put the swift poison use on there?
We were thinking, yeah, third level would not be a problem, I don't think, for swift poison use.
I think third would be okay.
Yeah, and then, like, magical
Okay.
poison use would be, like, 7th or 9th.
Natural poison? What's this natural poison thing? What?
So they have this thing where they could, rather than having to, like, actually get out and apply a poison, like, in that, this is actually the picture, my picture ended up doing, they could just magically apply any poison that they had, like, on them to a weapon as swift action later.
Okay. So you're talking about magical poison use at that point, or are you talking about...
So, rather than using the item command, it is a supernatural ability. So they're not using an item as a swift, they're basically using just like a class thing as a swift. Because to my understanding, swift poison means you still use a poison item, and you have to like, get it out and stuff, right?
Okay, I kind of get where you're going with there.
Yeah.
Alright, so instead
It's-
of having... Okay.
It's more
Alright.
thematic than like practical, but it also means that things that trigger on people doing items kind of interactions wouldn't trigger, so that might be something, I don't know.
Okay. So if we're gonna do that... Oh, sorry. So if we're gonna do that, what I'd recommend is swift poisoning at 3rd level, natural poisoning or whatever at 6th level, and then just kind of going up from there. Let's see. You're gonna get your spheres at 4th level. That'll be your main thing at 4th level. 5th level will be... Well, 4th level will have not only... The 4th level will have that, and that. You'll get poison... So... Okay. Sorry, let me go back around real fast.
You're fine.
1st level, sneak
Hey,
attack.
you're all good.
2nd level, poison resistance. Poison resistance to poison use. Third level, swift poisoning. 4th level, sneak attack, poison resistance. Sneak attack and sphere of power. 5th level, poison resistance 4. We're also going to probably throw evasion in here somewhere, but we'll get that. I'll grab that here in a second. We also might open up some... Hold on. Let me open up prestige classes real fast. Because we're going to take some of the ideas from
Shadow Dancer?
Shadow Dancer.
Yeah.
Dancer.
I don't think you wanted a shadow clone though, as I recall. Trailer. Like this was to be more about mobility and defense.
Yeah.
Mobility,
I
stealth,
mean,
and defense.
I did not
Okay.
bother, like, going down the Shadow Clone route.
So,
Okay, so the
For at
earliest...
least this instance.
So the earliest that anybody can get into Shadow Dancer is 5th level. It
You were-
requires 5 ranks of stealth. So
okay.
at 5th level is when we can start introducing some of the stuff from Shadow Dancer.
And this is why we didn't want to give them a lot of sphere stuff, is because they basically have like these other magical, like we want them to do other magical abilities, like being able to increase poison DC. They still need to, and we might give them excess spell points or whatever sphere calls its like power point usage. so that they can use those power points on the things like shadow dance, like shadow teleportation, and like
I'm also
shadow
going
shield.
to be assuming. I'm also going to be assuming that while they are indeed rogue based, that does not mean they're good at trap finding. These sound like they're assassins, not trap finders. Is that correct? Because they don't sound like they're like. I don't think they would get the trap finding features. Basically, what I'm saying.
From what I've been described, I don't think so. I might give them trap finding features inside like any any like shroud area, like as like a defensive thing. But I don't feel like they'd be able to like, because I don't feel like they'd like from what you told me, Craig. I don't feel like they're going out and hitting traps like in the broad world. Just that it's difficult to trap them like where they are.
You can still take a class. You can still attempt to look for traps.
I don't remember if
saying,
there's like an optional to give them a thing. It's not like a thing with sometimes like you can switch out some things.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is that rogues normally get an ability called trap finding that adds half their level to their perception skills in order to find traps and disable traps. It does not sound like what you're building will get that, is basically what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the name of trap finding because it makes it sound like only classes with trap finding can find traps.
Which is not how that works now.
No.
I had a barbarian who was an excellent trap finder.
Like there'd probably be individuals that are better at trap finding than others, but I don't necessarily think that that's like a specialty focus.
So probably not. Like maybe those individuals might have picked up like a level of rogue or something.
They would probably be the ones setting said traps.
Yeah. Okay. So let me go ahead and give a comprehensive list here, so that way we have an idea of what's going on. I'm trying to decide one last factor.
So Craven, that's insane.
What?
With your thing. I feel like
I'm still here. Last time I peeped at the thing, you were already into color.
Well, like,
kicking my ass.
I had no idea what to do for like your line work is so insane, right? And like I'm trying to use this like to try and push myself to get stuff done like faster. But like your line work is like I'd say your line work is like on like the same level as like my colors in a way.
Colors look pretty awesome.
Thank you. I had fun with the colors. I had fun with colors. I want to try and do like that weird magical poison thing we talked about. There we go. Okay. Let's see.
Basically, I'm trying to figure out, is there a brew poison feat in first edition? I can't remember.
There is.
There's a brew potion feat for sure.
Yeah.
But is there a make poison or something like that?
Oh, there's a couple things like that.
There's brew flesh crafting poison, which is its own thing.
Which is not. It's not what it might seem like.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah.
Brewmaster? Is Brewmaster? What's Brewmaster?
No, there's not like a specific, like alchemists get like a thing for poisons, but I'd probably just borrow it from that for like numbers.
The problem is that they don't get a thing for poisons.
Okay.
They have poison use, but they don't actually have a thing to create poisons. It looks like they just find poisons or make pull poisons from creatures, basically. which I mean, an option, but
Yeah. Mr.
what I
MG
would
would
do,
really recommend not focus on poisons. It's part of like their
I
thing, though. Like I appreciate that poisons
I
are
understand
mathematically uh, not
poisons.
good.
Don't get me wrong, poisons don't in Pathfinder First Edition. Poisons are not fantastic.
Yeah, no.
Just means they need a little tweaking.
Exactly.
Yeah, second edition's different. What I would do is that if you're going to use poisons and you're going to do tweaking anyway, do a full tweak in where basically they can create their own poison, and the poisons they get has its own special effect. So at first level, I would give them a feature called Brew Poison, or Brew. They're called Shrouds, right?
Yeah.
Brew Shroud Poison.
There we
And
go.
basically, it's a poison. It's a poison that is specifically made by the Shrouds to do a certain thing.
Yay,
And then once
this is so good.
and then once that's there, only the Shrouds can make it. So you have to be a part of the Shroud in order to understand how to make this poison.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the poison can even go up in like level, like what it does over time. So like over levels, you can make it more like stronger, add more ingredients or abilities to it.
I like
That way you do a retweaking. That way you do a retweaking of poison in a way that feels good to the class without being too off focus. So, first level sneak attack, Brew Shroud poison, and that would be it. Second level, poison use, poison resistance, and evasion.
Okay.
Third level, swift poisoning. That'll be it. For the Shroud poison, since you want... Is that going to be their main... Hold on. Is that going to be their main thing?
They were kind of balanced between,
Well, let me... I'm asking CT real fast, because... Because if you want that to be their main thing, what I would do is I'd even lower sneak attack further and then give the poisoning the front row treatment, and where basically it would be first level they get to brew it, and then every 2 levels you can add on to it, like do something else with it, like
Mr. G says like do it like Eidolons maybe.
Well, I was thinking about doing it kind of how like where rogues get sneak attack damage every 2 levels. So the sneak attack improves every 2 levels. Alchemists, for example, get bombs at first level, and then their bombs increase in damage every 2 levels. I'm thinking similar with the poison. If the poison is the main focus, then maybe the poison every 2 levels gets stronger. So, like, instead of having the sneak attack being the extra damage, the poison can be that extra damage, with the sneak attack being like a third option.
Oh yeah.
And then what happens is that at certain level gates, like for example, first level poison, poison does 1d6, right? Second, at third level, poison does 2d6. At 5th level, it does 3d6, and you add an extra option onto it. Like, it has its own, like, modifier that you can change into it. Like, maybe it's, on a critical failed save, it stuns the target or something like that. Get creative with it, you know, do something that you think is appropriate for that class. And then every 5 levels, basically give it a modifier.
You could do that if you actually wanted it to be like front and center.
Exactly, and then you can basically like increase the poison. Like, the poison keeps going up in damage every 2 levels. So at first level, third level, 5th level, so on and so forth. and then every 5 levels, or at 5th level and every 4 levels after, it gets an additional thing. Or maybe every... I mean, if you don't want every 4 levels, you can do like every 8 levels or something like that. You can pick out however you wanted to do it. 8 levels wouldn't work. Basically, you would say like at 5th, 9th, 14th? No, 13th. 15th? Yeah. 5th, 9th, 15th, and 19th, you can give it extra abilities or something. But if you make the poison front and center, then that would work out in that fashion. It's a front and center mechanic that becomes a big focus on how they work, while still giving them the side options of the other things.
That is up to Cradler. I don't know how it's done. This whole thing started because we were going from prompts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like it was like Cradler's, like for the first one, do Cradler's setting, try and do a class. And the class theming was that kind of like the idea of like a ninja. And we talked about like what that would, this is when you were streaming, we talked about like what that would look like in like Cradler's world. That kind of
Well,
thing.
and then
So,
here's the thing, is that all we're doing here is spitballing. Nothing's being put down on paper right now. So literally after this, Cradler can go look at it and go, I like this idea. I hate this idea. I like this idea. I hate this idea. But we're spitballing a couple of concepts to give a focus. And I'm thinking, honestly, going a poison focus wouldn't be a bad idea. Just make it to where their poison use is going to be based on that, you know. Because in Pathfinder 2nd edition, poisons work differently because poisons in 1st edition, like Mr. MG says, suck.
it did not scale.
Yeah. And it kind of works like that in 2nd edition in a way. In 2nd edition, they do damage, which is something that poison should do from the get-go. But poisons in Pathfinder sometimes don't even do damage, which is weird.
Which I kind of like, but like I don't like that they all don't do any damage.
Yeah, like, don't be wrong, every now and then, 1 or 2, you want to do, like, fine, that's fine, whatever. You want a poison that just stuns somebody, that works, understandable.
I actually like the idea that most poisons did like ability score damage. To me, that always like
I
through.
hate ability score damage.
Oh, it's my favorite kind of damage.
I don't mind ability score damage personally.
The reason I hate ability score damage is because
Cradler, I'm gonna have to get tips on you from like coloring ideas. That's amazing looking.
I'm not doing anything special, I swear.
Yeah, ability score damage, one of the reasons I didn't like it is because, first and foremost, it's another thing for people to track, on top of what's already being tracked in their system. Second off, nothing sucks more than being ready to fight something, and then in the fight, becoming less and less able to fight the thing that you're trying to fight, to the point that it's no longer a possibility for that character.
I mean, I can kind of understand that, but me personally as a player, because I'm more invested in the story than mechanics, I personally don't mind that.
It all depends.
Because to me that kind of rolls in with, well, I guess my character didn't make it this round.
Well, it's not so much that, it's like... So, one of the fundamentals about tabletop games is that everybody in a tabletop game wants to feel useful.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what angle, they want to be useful. When you take away the one thing that they're useful for, you start to get players who are unhappy. And...
Oh dear. Okay.
You okay?
Yeah, just Is there an issue that I'm gonna have to stand and try and like look at stuff to fix? Hang on.
It's okay. But basically, when you take away the ability to be useful from players, you're gonna
Okay,
cause
yeah.
hurt feelings. You're gonna cause issues. You're gonna cause a rift that doesn't need to be there. And even if it's mechanically built into a system, mechanically speaking, if it's not a fun mechanic, why is it something that you'd enforce?
Yeah. That's an interesting philosophical like approach.
It's something that I had to learn because whenever I started GMing, I was very much a rule focused person. I was very much, no, the rules say this, you have to go by the rules. And I realized over time that did not make me happy. It did not make my players happy. It didn't make anything good.
That's the rules.
Yeah. But that's how I was. It's like, it's very much, this is the rules, this is how this works, yada yada.
But the poisons and stuff is, the build discord damage is like a complicated topic. I'd be up for debating it with you sometime, just not tonight, if only because I'm probably gonna end up ending stream in the near future.
That's okay.
It's
I'm probably gonna be.
It's getting a little
I might
late.
be heading out here shortly because I've been offered to go talk with Roddy and them for a little bit, but I wanted to talk to you guys first.
That's absolutely fine. Like, I'm actually trying to go raid Roddy.
Yeah. But I wanted to talk to you guys first because we were doing the whole world building thing, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal. This is if you want to like do this stuff, like, that's it, CrazyToddler, but like this is a thing that we're gonna be doing.
Well, I don't mind dropping in once in a while. I just probably won't be joining in all the time because on Thursdays I do what's called Throwback Thursday.
Yeah.
And so I do like pixel gaming or like games that people like might have nostalgia for. Like today we played Super Metroid Randomizer, finished off a randomizer run.
Oh, nice.
Which that was fun. Then I played Super Mario 64. Got 18 stars. And then I started playing Vampire Survivors.
Okay.
But they all...
Yeah.
Yeah. Vampire Survivors is the most newest of them, but with it being a pixel game, I kind of go, this is acceptable.
Yeah.
It has that old-timey enough feel to it that I can't have anybody, like, nobody's like going to look at it and go, oh, I'm about to complain. Sorry.
Right. No, it's fine. Yeah, it's definitely something worth looking at. I think it's got like a solid basis, though, like in terms of like class and concepts. Panther, how are you in terms of like your drawing? If you're at a good stopping point or not?
Oh, I'm just kind of tooling around. You can stop whenever you need to on it.
Why don't you give us a zoom out then? Because I really want to see yours as well. So he looks great. I will definitely be talking to you about like the whole process of like sketch and then like color. That's really great. I definitely got mine finished, but I feel like I maybe rushed things a bit too much. And I like what I'm doing. I feel like I'm not hitting quite some of those like LODs that I really want to in my artwork.
Actually open it on my computer so I can see it better.
Oh yeah.
Here's how I feel about it in terms of artwork. Everybody's got their own kind of style and stylization. And like I'm looking at both of y'all's, and both of your styles are very unique, very interesting, and I would look at both of y'all's all day, every day.
Aw, thank you, Mo. Like, yeah. Like again, my complaints are, and you understand, the complaints of an artist about their own artwork. Because, like, as an artist, we always are trying to do other stuff with our artwork. But yeah, I guess, like, CrazyToddler, do you feel like I managed to do Shroud?
on.
That is-
I'm waiting for it to load in.
Okay, that is the thing that I will use as a judgment of whether or not like this art has like gotten it. I think I'm gonna turn that just a little bit.
Oh, Velix.
That works. I like it.
Yeah. Okay.
I was gonna say, what was it? Oh, so the little gift that I made you.
Yes, I need to get that up here. I haven't kind of I was trying to add it as like a moving like emote, but I have to try and like resize it and stuff because Twitch hates it.
I was about to say, I thought, well, you could resize it for that for sure, but I was gonna say, like, you could throw it on OBS as like an image or whatever.
I want to try and get that with. I'll tell you after stream. What I want to do. I
Okay.
don't know how to do it yet. But anyway, I think this is it. Everyone, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for joining. I've had a lot of fun. CrazyToddler, I hope you had a lot of fun.
I think it's fun.
Oh yeah, me and I think I feel like we have achieved a kind of good understanding of like the Shroud.
I think it, even if a bunch of stuff changes later, I think this is like a really good start because it basically started from not a lot.
Yeah, it started from
Other
nothing but
than
a prompt.
a prompt and me going, there is an Assassin's Guild somewhere, so let's go from there.
Yeah.
I think you guys have done an amazing job, and I thank you both for letting me come on.
Absolutely, Bo.
It was very fun having you there with us.
It's been fantastic. Yeah, it's always nice like talking to someone about like moving from fluff to crunch.
And like, I am clueless about tabletop, so it's fun hearing you two just go off.
Yeah, Brandon, thank you so much. I don't know where that would fit in yet. I'm not doing commissions publicly for the moment, but if I ever do, you'll be the first to know about it. But yeah, so CrazyToddler, are we still doing this like? Because I'm good for to have this be a thing, to do this as my Thursday night. If you are,
I mean, I think that'd be fine.
Let's
That'd be fun.
Let's do it. So we will be back here next Thursday, 21 or 9 p.m. post meridian Eastern Daylight Time. Trying something else. We'll be visiting Ido, which is the setting I'm working on next time, and we'll flip flop. So every fortnight you'll get to see one of our worlds. In the meantime, we are going to go raid another friend of mine who is also doing artwork, Roddy, who is the most chill necromantic abomination you can possibly meet. So please, everyone, if you're up for it, go and get her all over their chat. Let them know the hive has arrived. Mr. MG, I appreciate all your suggestions, and I would not be surprised if when this starts to like go on paper in whatever form it does, you'll see them like pop up. I really appreciate like everything that you added to the discussion. It was wonderful. For the rest of you, go with all of my love, look after yourselves, and go say a wonderful giant hello to Ronnie. You two, anything else? Anything to add?
皆さん大好き
I'm just here.
Awesome. Take care, everyone. Until next broadcast.